All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Desperate Housewives reading. Thanks so much for watching. So today we're going to be doing a couple episodes from the beginning of Desperate Housewives, so don't worry, no spoilers. Today our cast is Casey, who will be playing Mary Alice Young, Mike Porter, and counterperson. I don't know why I'm reading all the tiny parts. Jeremy's going to be doing our scene directions. Alexis is going to be Bree Vandekamp. Megan is going to be Susan and Danielle. Jack will be playing Lynette and Andrew. Zach is going to be playing Gabrielle. Molly is going to be playing Edie, Tom, and some other people. I am going to be playing Rex Vandekamp and Carlos. And then Jared is going to be playing Zach Young and John Rowland. And Michael is going to be playing Paul Young and Julie. All right. Take it away, Jeremy.
Cool. Desperate Housewives by Mark Cherry and God. Fade in, exterior suburban street day. We're driving down a tree-lined suburban street. We finally stop at a well-kept upper middle class house complete with a white picket fence.
My name is Mary Alice Scott. When you read this morning's paper, you may come across an article about the unusual day I had last week.
Close up, Mary Alice Scott. The camera pulls back to reveal an attractive woman in her early 30s wearing gardening gloves. Emerging from the house, she crosses to the flower bed and begins pruning.
Normally, there's never anything newsworthy about my life, but that all changed last Thursday.
Interior Scott House kitchen day. Mary Alice's husband and son are seated at a table. She is busy serving them breakfast.
Of course, everything seemed quite normal at first.
Interior Scott House laundry room day. Mary Alice puts some clothes into the washing machine.
I performed my chores.
Exterior dry cleaners. Mary Alice emerges from a dry cleaners with some clothing encased in plastic.
I ran my errands.
Exterior Scott House backyard. Mary Alice paints some lawn furniture.
I completed my projects.
Interior Scott House kitchen. Mary Alice adjusts bric-a-brac around the room.
In truth, I spent the day as I spent every other day, quietly polishing the routine of my life until it gleamed with perfection.
Interior Scott House living room day. Mary Alice stands completely still in the middle of an immaculate room.
Which is why it was so astounding when late last Thursday afternoon,
Interior Scott House hallway day. Mary Alice stands on a chair and reaches up to the top shelf of the hall closet. She brings down a revolver.
I decide to take a loaded gun from the hallway closet and empty its contents into my head.
Close on a gun firing. Mary Alice falls to the floor. We see what appears to be blood spreading out over some tile as a woman's hand begins to wipe it away. Interior Huber House, kitchen, continuous. We pull back to reveal it's the hand of Edith Hubbard, a plump woman in her late 40s who has just spilled some tomato sauce under her kitchen counter. She wipes it up when she suddenly hears something from outside.
My body was discovered by my next-door neighbor, Mrs. Edith Huber, who had been startled by what she would later describe to the police as a strange popping sound.
Exterior Huber House, backyard day. Edith crosses to the fence and jumps up several times trying to peer over. Seeing nothing, she goes back inside her home.
Her curiosity aroused, Mrs. Huber quickly tried to think of a reason for dropping in on me unannounced.
Interior Huber House kitchen day. Edith crosses to her pantry and pulls out a blender that has a piece of tape on the side. Close on tape, property of Mary Alice Scott.
After some initial hesitation, she decided to return the blender she had borrowed from me 6 months before.
Exterior Huber House front yard day. Edith exits her front door carrying the blender and crosses to Mary Alice's front door. She knocks. She waits for a response. Nothing. She goes to the side of the house and peers in the window. She suddenly sees Mary Alice's lifeless body. She screams. Interior Huber House kitchen continuous. Edith runs in, puts the blender on the counter, and quickly picks up the phone.
Hello? You've got to send an ambulance. My neighbor, oh my God, there's blood everywhere. Yes, I think she's been shot. Please, you've got to send someone now.
Edith hangs up the phone. She stands for a beat, teary-eyed.
And for a moment, Mrs. Huber wept in her kitchen, overcome by this senseless tragedy. But only for a moment. If there was one thing Mrs. Huber was known for, it was her ability to look on the bright side.
Edith reaches down to the blender and rips off the tape that reads, "Property of Mary Alice Scott." She then puts the blender back into her pantry. Fade out. End of teaser. Act 1. Fade in. Exterior Scott house, front yard day, a sunny afternoon. Various people are walking up to the house, dressed in black and carrying covered dishes.
I was laid to rest on a Monday morning. After the funeral, all the residents of Wisteria Lane came to pay their respects. And, as people do in these situations, they brought food.
Exterior Scott house sidewalk day, close on Lynette Scavo. We pull back to reveal a worn down Lynette, late 30s, carrying a large plate of chicken.
Lynette Scavo, who lives on the corner, brought fried chicken. Lynette had a great family recipe for fried chicken.
Interior office day flashback. An intense yet culpable looking Lynette is running a meeting.
Of course, she didn't cook much while she was moving up the corporate ladder. She didn't have the time.
Interior doctor's office day flashback. Lynette and her husband Tom are staring in surprise as a doctor points to an image of an ultrasound machine.
But when her doctor announced Lynette was pregnant with twins, her husband, Tom, had an idea.
Close on Lynette's husband mouthing the following words.
Why not quit your job? It'd be better for the kids. You'd love being a stay-at-home mom, and it would be so much less stressful.
Lynette considers this for a moment, then nods in agreement. End of flashback. Interior Scott house front yard continuous. The worn down Lynette carries her plate of chicken.
But this was not the case. In fact, Lynette's life was now so hectic.
We pull back even farther to reveal she also pushes a stroller with Patsy, 18 months. Peter and Porter, both 6, and Preston, 5, walk on the sidewalk in front of her.
She was forced to get her fried chicken from a fast food restaurant.
Lynette's twins start elbowing each other. Lynette looks at them wearily.
Lynette would have appreciated the irony if she stopped to think about it, but she couldn't. She didn't have the time.
Boys, knock it off!
One of the boys pushes another, sending him into the third. All 3 boys start brawling.
Can you hear me? I said knock it off!
She pushes the stroller aside and then she rushes to separate her fighting children.
But he was the one who...
No buts. You're going to behave today. I won't be humiliated in front of the entire neighborhood, and just so you know how serious I am...
Lynette reaches into her pocket and pulls out a slip of paper. She holds it up in front of the boys.
What's that?
This is Santa's cell phone number.
How did you get that?
I know someone who knows someone who knows an elf. Now, if you guys act up today, so help me, I'll call Santa and tell him you want socks for Christmas. You willing to risk that?
The boys shake their heads nervously.
Good. Let's get this over with.
As Lynette stands up, Mrs. Hubert suddenly crosses by.
Lynette, I see you brought the children.
My babysitter won't return my phone calls. Get off my back.
Lynette breezes past Mrs. Hubert towards the front door. Exterior Sala's front yard day. Gabrielle Salas, a glamorous woman in her late 30s, emerges from the front door carrying a large Tupperware bowl.
Gabrielle Solis, who lives 3 doors down, brought chilled gazpacho.
Close on Gabrielle Solis, strutting down her front walk. Interior Manhattan fashion show flashback. Close on Gabrielle strutting down a runway.
Since her modeling days in New York, Gabrielle had always had a thing for Spanish cuisine and Spanish men.
As Gabrielle passes by, we rush in on Carlos, who is seated in the audience. He watches her intently. Interior Manhattan restaurant night flashback. Gabrielle and Carlos are seated in an elegant restaurant. Carlos takes a velvet box out of his pocket and opens it.
Carlos, who worked in mergers and acquisitions, proposed on their 3rd date.
Gabrielle nods. Tears well up in Carlos's eyes.
She was touched when tears welled up in his eyes, but she soon discovered this happened every time Carlos closed a big deal.
End of flashback. Exterior Solis house front yard continuous. Gabrielle struts down her front walk. She joins Carlos, who has obviously been waiting for her.
So Gabrielle now had everything she'd ever wanted. A big house, lots of credit cards, and a housekeeper who made her chilled gazpacho anytime she wanted.
Gabrielle shoves the gazpacho into Carlos's hands.
But the gazpacho was not quite as chilled as Gabrielle's current relationship with her husband.
Woo! Gabrielle starts to cross the street. Carlos follows her.
Hey, if you talk to Al Mason at this thing, I want you to casually mention how much I paid for your necklace.
Oh, eat me, Carlos.
He let me know how much you paid for his wife's new Jag. Just work it into the conversation.
There's no way I can just work that in.
At the Donahue's party, everyone was talking about mutual funds, and you found a way to mention you once screwed John Bon Jovi and his brother.
You know, Carlos, there is a difference between bragging and entertaining cocktail conversation.
Gabrielle sweeps past Carlos up the walk to the Scott's house and knocks on the front door. Interior Scott house living room day, close on a hand reaching for a doorknob. The door opens to reveal 2 gift baskets. We pull back to see they're carried by Bree Vandekamp. Late 30s, beautiful, and immaculately put together, she enters with a confident air.
Bree Vandekamp, who lives down the block, brought baskets of muffins she baked from scratch. Bree was known for her cooking.
Interior Vandekamp house, sewing room day, flashback, Bree is at a sewing machine.
And for making her own clothes.
Vandekamp garden, Bree is racking a vegetable garden with a hoe.
And for growing her own vegetables.
Vandekamp living room flashback, Bree shoves a knife into a sofa. She peels the old fabric off, a bolt of brand new fabric sits beside her.
And for reupholstering her own furniture.
End of flashback. Interior Scott house living room continuous. Bree stands at the door holding her 2 gift baskets. She smiles, then breezes into the party.
Yes, Bree's many talents were known throughout the neighborhood, and everyone on Wisteria Lane thought of Bree as the perfect wife and mother. Everyone, that is, except her family.
Rex Vandekamp, 40, Andrew Vandekamp, 16, and Danielle Vandekamp, 14, suddenly appear in the doorframe. They all wear a wary expression. They follow Bree into the wake. We cut to Paul Scott, late 30s, who somberly greets his guests. Next to him is his son Zach, 16. Bree walks up to them.
Paul? Zachary?
Bree, you shouldn't have gone through all this trouble.
No trouble at all. Now the red basket is filled with desserts for your guests, but the blue basket is just for you and Zachary. It's got rolls and muffins, breakfast type things.
Thank you.
The least I could do was make sure you boys had a decent meal to look forward to in the morning. I know you're out of your minds with grief.
Mr. Scott and Zach nod emotionally. They stand there silently for a beat, then...
Of course, we'll need the baskets back once you're done.
Bree crosses away. Mr. Scott and his son look at each other. Then over at Bree's family, who are all clearly mortified. Exterior Mayor house. Front yard day. Close on Susan Mayer. We pull back to see Susan, mid-30s, and her daughter Jenna, 12, crossing the street. Susan carries a casserole dish.
Susan Meyer, who lives across the street, brought macaroni and cheese. Her husband, Carl, always teased her about her macaroni, saying it was the only thing she knew how to cook, and she rarely made it well.
Interior Meyer house, kitchen, evening flashback, close on 2 hands picking up a casserole dish. We pull back to see a beaming Susan taking the dish and setting it on a table. Seated at the table are her husband, Carl, and a 2-month-old Jenna in a high chair. Moving boxes are in the background.
It was too salty the night she and Carl moved into their house.
Meyer house, kitchen, evening, close on 2 hands picking up a casserole dish. We pull back to see an enraged Susan taking the dish and slamming it down on the table. A dress shirt is slung over one of the chairs. A 4-year-old Jenna sits at the table.
It was too watery the night she found lipstick on Carl's shirt.
Susan suddenly picks up the dress shirt and rips it in half. Interior Meyer house, kitchen, evening flashback, close on 2 hands picking up a casserole dish. We pull back to see a devastated Susan taking the dish and putting it down on the table. A 10-year-old Jenna sits at the table. Carl enters carrying 2 suitcases.
She burned it the night Carl told her he was leaving her for his secretary.
Carl exits. Susan dissolves into tears. End of flashback. Exterior Scott, front yard day continuous. Susan and Jenna head up the sidewalk.
It had been 2 years since Susan had divorced Carl, and though she was content, she started to think how nice it would be to have a man in her life who'd make fun of her cooking.
Just as they reach the front porch, Jenna looks up at Susan.
Mom, why would someone kill themselves?
Susan stops. This question has caught her off guard.
Well, sometimes people can only be so happy sometimes people can be so unhappy they think it's the only way to solve their problems.
But Mrs. Young always seems so happy.
Yes, but some people pretend to be one way on the outside when they're totally different on the inside.
Oh, you mean like how Dad's new girlfriend is always smiling and says nice things, but deep down you just know she's a bitch?
I don't like that word, Jenna. But yes, that is a great example.
Interior Scout House living room moments later, there's a large crush of mourners. Susan and Jenna enter. They make their way to the dining room. Susan places her macaroni and cheese on the buffet table. Interior Scout House kitchen continuous. Bree and Gabrielle are seated, drinking wine. Lynette is off to the side, breastfeeding. Susan enters. She crosses to the table and sits. The four women are silent, lost in their own thoughts. Susan reaches over and picks a wine glass off the table. She stares at it. Close on the wine glass, wine is poured into it. We pull back to find we are in Interior Scott House kitchen. 2 years earlier, flashback, the wine is being poured by Mary Alice. Susan is in the same chair holding a wine glass. Bree and Gabrielle are next to her. Lynette, 8 months pregnant, is off to the side. Mary Alice finishes pouring the wine.
It's not the end of the world, Susan.
You want a handkerchief? I've got one in my purse.
I'm fine, really.
Bree offers a handkerchief to Susan.
It's one of my good ones. See the lace? I tatted it myself.
First of all, no one's impressed that you tattoo your own lace. If anything, it's weird. Secondly, Susan doesn't need a hanky. She's not even crying.
I don't see why not. If Rex had cheated on me, I'd be hysterical.
So, what did Carl say when you confronted him?
Oh, you'll love this. He looked me straight in the eye and said, it didn't mean anything.
Ugh.
What is that? Page 1 of Philanderer's Handbook?
Then I asked him why he'd even feel the need to screw another woman. And he just got this zen look on his face and said, you know, Susan, most men lead lives of quiet desperation.
Please tell me you punched him.
No, I said, really? And what do most women lead? Lives of noisy fulfillment?
Good for you.
And of all people, did he have to bang his secretary? My gosh, I had that woman over for brunch.
It's like my grandma said, an erect penis doesn't have a conscience.
Oh, come on. Even the flaccid ones aren't that ethical.
This is half the reason I joined the NRA. When Rex started going to those medical conferences, I wanted it in the back of his mind that he had a loving wife at home with a loaded Smith & Wesson.
Lenny, Tom's always away on business. Do you ever worry he might...
Please. The man's gotten me pregnant 3 times in 4 years. I wish he was having sex with someone else.
So, is that dirtbag begging for forgiveness now?
No, he won't even promise to stop seeing her.
Susan starts to cry. Bree turns to Gabrielle.
Now can I give her a hanky?
Gabrielle reacts. Bree hands Susan a hanky.
I'm sorry. I don't know if I can survive this.
Mary Alice reaches across the table and takes Susan's hand.
Sweetie, I'm not going to listen to that kind of talk. Yes, it's going to be rough for a while, and there will be days you won't feel like getting out of bed. But this too shall pass. And until it does, you've just got to deal with it. Because at the end of the day, what other freaking choice do you have?
Mary Alice gives Susan a knowing smile. Susan, immediately sensing the touch of the statement, begins to laugh through her tears. Soon the other women join in. After a beat, the laughter starts to fade into the background.
Susan!
End of flashback into Scott House kitchen. Continuous. Startled, Susan looks over to see Bree staring at her.
I said Paul wants us to come over Friday and go through Mary Alice's closet and pack up all of her clothes. He can't face doing it himself.
Oh, sure, that's fine.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm just so angry. If Mary Alice was having problems, she should have come to us. She should have let us help her.
What problems could she have had? She was healthy, had a great house, and a nice family. Her life was...
Our life.
No. We'd have known if Mary Alice was having some sort of crisis. We all live 50 feet away, for God's sakes.
Gabby, something else must have been going on. Why else would she have done something so desperate?
As all the women ponder this, the camera drifts off to the side of the kitchen door. Paul Scott, Mary Alice's husband, who's been eavesdropping on this conversation, the malignant look in his eyes suggests he may know the answer to that question. Interior Scott House dining room moments later, Michael, Mike Delfino, 39, is at the buffet table dishing up some food. He's good looking, in a blue-collar sort of way. Susan walks by just in time to see Mike reach for the macaroni and cheese.
I wouldn't eat that if I were you.
Why?
I made it. Trust me.
Mike, completely charmed by Susan's candor, starts to scoop a big helping of the macaroni and cheese. Susan stops him.
Hey, do you have a death wish?
I refuse to believe anyone could screw a macaroni and cheese that badly.
Mike scoops the mac and cheese onto his plate, winks at Susan, then tries some. He instantly grimaces.
Oh my god, how do you... It tastes like it's burned and undercooked.
I get that.
Susan hands him a napkin. After he discreetly spits out the food, they both start to laugh.
By the way, I'm Mike Delfino. I'm renting the Sims house next door.
Susan.
Oh, Mrs. Huber told me about you. She said you write children's books.
I'm very big with the under 5 set. What do you do?
Plumber, so if you ever have a clog or something.
Mike flashes a killer smile. Susan realizes she's being flirted with. She becomes flustered.
Now that everyone has seen I brought something, I should probably throw this out. So
Susan starts to cross off, then looks back and is thrilled to see Mike is watching her walk away. Interior Scott's house living room continuous. Lynette sits trying to discreetly breastfeed her toddler. She flinches in pain.
Oh, stop it, you little vampire.
Mrs. Hoover suddenly crosses over.
Lynette, I've been looking all over for you. Are you aware of what your sons are doing?
A look of panic crosses Lynette's face. Interior kitchen Scott's house continuous. Susan enters the kitchen. Her daughter Jenna is 3.
Who was that guy you were talking to? He's a hottie.
yes, he is.
Want me to find out if you're single?
Like mom.
Jenna turns and exits. Exterior Scott backyard day. Various mourners are in the backyard. In the center is a pool. Lynette, carrying the baby, emerges from the house to see her 3 sons are in the pool swimming. 3 piles of clothing are at the pool's edge. Mortified, Lynette races over.
What are you doing? We are at a wake.
When we got here, you said we could go in the pool.
I said you could go by the pool. Are you wearing swimsuits?
Yeah, we put them on under our clothes before we left the house.
You 3 planned this? That does it. Get out.
No.
No. I am your mother. You have to do what I say.
We want to swim, and you can't stop us.
The twins cross their arms in defiance. Preston looks over at his brothers, then crosses his arms as well. Lynette stares at them in shock. She even looks up at the crowd around her. Lynette's point of view, everyone in the backyard is watching to see what she'll do, each person silently judging her as a mother. Lynette thinks for a beat, then suddenly thrusts her toddler into a stranger's arms. She descends into the pool, wades over to an astonished Peter and Porter, grabs them by their ears, and forces them out of the pool. She throws them back at Preston. Look at Preston, who quickly scurries out. Lynette picks up the boys' clothing, shoves it into their arms, and gestures for them to exit. They do. Lynette then takes her toddler from the stranger and crosses, soaking wet, to Paul Scott.
Paul, we have to leave now. Once again, I'm so sorry for your loss.
As Lynette exits, all the astounded mourners watch her go. All of them, that is, but Paul, who stares intently at the empty pool. There's an anguished look on his face. This is a man with a secret. Angle from under the water, we see the lone figure of Paul Scott staring into the water. The ripples of the water distort his face into something grotesque and threatening. Fade out, end of Act 1. Act 2, fade in, exterior Wisteria Lane, early morning, the tree-lined street is barely touched by sunlight.
The morning after my funeral, my friends and neighbors quietly went back to their busy, busy lives.
Interior Scavo House kitchen morning. In a messy kitchen, an exhausted Lynette serves bacon and eggs to her 4 children.
While some did their cooking,
Interior Vandekam House kitchen morning. Brie cleans her oven. She wears a hairnet and latex gloves.
and some did their cleaning,
Interior Celise House bedroom morning. Gabrielle is in an awkward position stretching.
and some did their yoga.
Exterior Delfino House morning. Jenna knocks on the front door.
Others did their homework.
Mike answers the door.
Hi, I'm Julie. I was kicking my soccer ball and it went into your backyard.
Oh, well, come in. We'll go get it.
Mike opens the screen door and Jenna heads inside. Interior Meyer House living room a little later. Susan and Jenna are there.
So his wife died of cancer 2 years ago. He left LA because there were too many memories. He does over 6 figures a year, and he's just renting for tax purposes.
Do you get any sense of when he might be ready to start dating again?
No, but I can lose my frisbee tomorrow.
Susan smiles. Interior Celise House kitchen afternoon. Gabrielle and Carlos are in the kitchen in the middle of a fight.
I am not going to that party.
It's a business dinner. Tanaka expects everyone to bring their wives.
Every time I'm around that man, he tries to grab my ass.
I made over 200,000 doing business with him last year. If he wants to grab your ass for a couple of seconds, let him.
Carlos exits as Gabrielle smolders. Exterior Celise House front yard continues. John, 16, a muscular, handsome neighbor, does yard work. Carlos emerges from the house.
John.
Startled, John catches his hand on a thorn.
Oh, Mr. Solis, you scared me.
Why is that bush still here? You were supposed to dig that up last week.
I didn't have time last week because...
I don't want to hear any more of your excuses. Just take care of the bush.
Just then, Gabrielle emerges from the house as Carlos crosses to his car.
You know, Carlos, I really hate the way you talk to me.
And I really hate the diamond necklace I bought you that set me back $5,000, but I'm learning to deal with it. So, can I tell him Tanaka will be there?
Gabrielle sees that John is bleeding.
John, we have bandages. Top shelf in the kitchen.
Oh, thanks, Mrs. Solis.
John exits into the house. Gabrielle turns back to Carlos.
All right, I'll go. But I'm going to keep my back pressed against the wall the entire time.
See, this is what marriage is all about. Compromise.
Gabrielle registers a look of disdain as Carlos gets into his car and takes off. Interior Celise House kitchen moments later. John wraps a bandage on his finger. Gabrielle enters.
Is your finger okay?
Yeah, it was just a small cut.
Gabrielle crosses to John. She takes his hand. She examines it for a beat, then unexpectedly kisses his finger softly. They lock eyes. Before we know it, they're kissing passionately. Suddenly, he pulls away.
You know, Mrs. Solis, I really like it when we hook up, but, you know, I gotta get my work done. I can't afford to lose this job, and...
Gabrielle removes her top and lets it drop to the floor. John, overcome by the sight of her body, drops his tools. Gabrielle takes John and leads him into the dining room.
This is hand-carved. Carlos had it imported from Italy. It cost him $15,000.
You want me to do it on the table this time?
Absolutely.
John picks Gabrielle up and lays her on top of the table. He pulls his shirt off, then gets on the table with her. They kiss for a beat, then Gabrielle begins laughing.
What?
I was just thinking. The last thing my husband said was to make sure you took care of the bush.
Gabrielle and John both laugh uproariously. The camera pans up the wall to reveal a painting with a bowl of fruit on it. Exterior Delfino House front yard early evening. Susan carries a basket of fruit. She walks up Mike's front door and knocks. Mike opens the door.
Hey, Susan.
I got you a little housewarming gift.
Wow, the welcome wagon moves fast here. I haven't even unpacked yet.
Mike takes the basket. Susan smiles.
It was true. Susan had moved quickly, because she knew when word of Mike's marital status spread.
Hello there.
Susan and Mike turn and look. Susan's smile fades when she sees Edie Britt, 37, sexy and determined. Striding up the walkway, she carries a casserole dish.
There'd be competition.
close on Edie Britt strutting up the walkway.
Edie Britt was the most predatory divorcee in a 5-block radius.
Interior Britt home living room afternoon flashback. Edie grabs a man in a blue uniform and kisses him passionately. He drops his toolbox.
Her conquests were numerous.
Interior Brit home flashback. Edie grabs a man wearing tennis whites and kisses him passionately. He drops his tennis racket.
Varied.
Interior Brit home. Edie grabs a man wearing a black shirt and a white collar and kisses him passionately. He drops his Bible.
And legendary.
End of flashback. Exterior Delfino house, front door continuous. Edie walks up and joins Mike and Susan.
Hi, Susan. Hope I'm not interrupting.
Susan forces a smile.
Yes, Susan Meyer had met the enemy, and she was a slut.
Edie extends her hand to Mike.
You must be Mike Delfino. I'm Edie Britt. I live down the street. Welcome to Wisteria Lane.
Thank you. What's this?
Sausage puttanesco with a cream sauce. Just something I threw together.
Susan glares at Edie.
Thanks, Edie. This is great. You know, I'd ask you both in, but I was in the middle of something when you...
No problem. Just wanted to say hi.
Late for an appointment anyway.
The women both turn and begin to walk down the walkway.
And just like that, the race for Mike Delfino had begun. For a moment, Susan wondered if her rivalry with Edie would be a friendly one.
Edie stops and turns back.
Oh, Mike. I heard you're a plumber.
But she was quickly reminded that when it came to men...
Do you think you could stop by later tonight and take a look at my pipes?
Women don't fight fair. Sure.
Mike smiles and goes inside. Edie smiles slyly at Susan. Susan reacts. Susan turns and starts rapidly down the sidewalk. We follow her as she walks. Susan passes by the Vandekamp house. The camera stays on the house and we push in towards the front window. We continue pushing in until we see the entire Vandekamp family eating dinner through the window. We push through the window and we are now inside the Vandekamp house dining room. In the Vandekamp dining room, Bree and Rex sit at the opposite ends of the table. In the middle are Andrew, 15, and Danielle, 14. They are quietly eating dinner at an elegantly set table. Danielle looks up from her bowl.
Normal soup.
Danielle, there is nothing abnormal about basil puree.
Like French or navy bean.
First of all, your father can't eat onions. He's deathly allergic. And I won't even dignify your navy bean suggestion. So does everyone like their osso buco?
Okay.
Bree gently places her fork on her plate.
Andrew, I spent 4 hours cooking this meal. How do you think it makes me feel when you say it's okay in that sullen tone?
Well, who asked you to spend 4 hours on dinner?
Excuse me?
Tom Harper's mom gets home from work, pops open a can of pork and beans, and boom, they're eating. Everybody's happy.
Bree stares coldly at her son. B.
Apologize now, I'm begging.
You'd rather I serve pork and beans?
I'm just saying, does every dinner have to be one of Martha Stewart's greatest hits?
Bree throws down her napkin. She rises and paces around the room. She suddenly crosses to Andrew and leans into him.
You're doing drugs, aren't you?
What?
Change in behavior is one of the warning signs, and you've been as fresh as paint for the past 6 months. So is it crack? That would explain why you're always locked in the bathroom.
Trust me, that's not what he's doing.
Shut up. Mom, I'm not the problem here. You're the one who's always acting like she's running for mayor of Stepford.
Hey, I work myself to the point of exhaustion to create a lifestyle for my family that is both elegant and wholesome. And it's astonishing to me that the only reaction I get for my efforts is cold indifference.
Whatever.
Andrew sullenly resumes eating. Bree sits back down. B.
Rex, seeing how you're head of this household, I would really appreciate you saying something.
Rex looks up from his food.
Everybody just be quiet so I can eat this slop in peace.
Bree stares at Rex in utter shock. Rex gives her a look of complete disdain. After a beat, the entire family resumes eating their food in silence. Fade out, end of Act 2. Act 3, fade in, interior supermarket, afternoon, a suburban supermarket, various shoppers walk about.
2 days after my funeral, my friends started to let go of their grief.
Susan, Gabrielle, Bree, and Lynette stand together in an aisle deep in conversation. Patsy, Lynette's daughter, rides in the cart. Her sons, Peter, Porter, and Preston, are off to the side, completely bored.
The healing process officially began with the trashing of a dear friend and neighbor.
And she brought him sausage puttanesca.
That is so like Edie to come up with a phallic entree.
Can't help but feel responsible. I gave her that recipe.
Hey, you had no idea she was going to use it for evil.
Mom, let's go. We're missing SpongeBob.
Just a minute, honey. Mommy's gossiping with friends.
Yeah. No, I'm good. I hate acting like some love-struck teenager, but it's just, I think we could be good together. From the first moment we met, we had this amazing connection.
This was when he was spitting out your macaroni?
Yeah.
Mom.
Okay.
Just to say this out the meeting.
Why don't you help Mommy shop? Go to the next aisle and pick up that Kool-Aid you love.
The three boys take off. Lynette shouts after them.
And come right back.
The boys disappear around the corner.
I'm rooting for you, Susan. Just be aware Edie is going for it. I saw her at the salon yesterday. She was getting a bikini wax.
Do you want a meatless burger?
No, I'm good.
And did you say you have a meatless?
Sorry.
Yeah, maybe another one, please. Meatless burger. Sorry. Okay, thank you.
So she's thrown down the gauntlet.
Thank you.
Totally.
You know, Lynette, that Kool-Aid is right next to the grape juice, which is all in glass bottles.
Oh, crap. I gotta go.
Lynette turns to leave. We follow her into the next aisle where she finds Preston standing by himself.
Preston, where are your brothers?
We found an empty shopping cart.
Oh, crap.
Lynette Scavo, is that you?
Lynette looks around to see Natalie Wellman, late 30s, dressed in business attire.
Natalie Wellman. I don't believe it.
Lynette, how long has it been?
Years. How are you? How's the firm?
Good. Everybody misses you. We all say if you hadn't quit, you'd be running the place by now.
Yeah, well.
So, what's it like? Do you love being a mom?
And there it was, the question that Lynette always dreaded. For the people who asked it, only one answer was ever acceptable. Any other, and she'd be found lacking as a woman. So Lynette responded as she always did. She lied.
Oh, yes. Best job I ever had.
We see behind Lynette an elderly lady waiting in the checkout line. Suddenly we hear a commotion and an empty cart thunders into frame, broadsiding the elderly lady, knocking her over. Lynette closes her eyes, knowing that whatever just happened behind her, she's gonna have to answer for. Interior Solis house, bedroom, afternoon. Gabrielle and John are lying quietly and contently in bed. They've obviously just finished making love. Gabrielle is smoking a cigarette.
You know what I don't get?
What?
Why you married Mr. Solis?
Gabrielle gives John a surprised look. She sees he's serious.
Well, he promised he'd give me everything I've ever wanted.
And did he?
Yes.
John thinks about that for a beat.
Then why aren't you happy?
As it turns out, I wanted the wrong things.
So, do you love him?
I do.
Then why are we here? Why are we doing this?
Gabrielle fixes John with an intense stare.
Because I don't want to wake up one day with the urge to blow my brains out.
She kisses him. She then takes a drag of her cigarette.
Hey, can I have a drag?
Absolutely not. You're too young to smoke.
Gabrielle smiles at John and blows smoke in the air. Interior mayor house, kitchen, afternoon. Susan fries a pan of bacon at the stove. She takes out the bacon and throws it in the trash. She then takes the pan and empties the grease into the sink. On the counter are open jars of peanut butter, cooking oil, and lard. After she pours the grease into the sink, Susan scoops out a large spoonful of lard and starts jamming it into the drain. Jenna sits at the table watching this spectacle.
You're crazy, you know that?
Mike's a plumber. Unclogging drains is what he does. And I've got to make my move before Edie makes hers.
Can't you just ask him out on a date?
We need to get to know each other first. This way we can talk and it'll feel spontaneous and casual. I don't want him to think I'm desperate. Hey, come here and start pulling my hair out of these brushes.
Jenna reluctantly gets up and crosses to the counter.
Mom, how can you be so hung up on this guy? You just met him.
You're right. He'll probably turn out to be an axe murderer, or married, or gay, or with my luck, all three. But until the sad truck comes pouring out, Mike is a definite maybe. And it's been a while since I've had that. No, I'm not in love with him, but dang, I am in love with the possibility. Does that make sense?
Jenna is frozen. Staring out the window, Susan sees this.
Honey, what's wrong?
Susan looks out the window and sees what Jenna is staring at. Susan's point of view, Edie Britt is in the driver's seat of a red convertible. She's parked in front of Mike's house. Suddenly, Mike emerges from his house. He walks to the car and gets in. Edie pulls away. Susan is in shock for a beat. Then,
Got my car keys.
exterior freeway. Moments later, Susan and Jenna are in Susan's car, speeding down the highway.
Mom, this is crazy.
Be quiet. I'm concentrating.
Up ahead, Edie's car weaves in and out of traffic. Interior Cowboy Bob's Steakhouse afternoon. Susan and Jenna enter. They walk to the hostess podium.
How many?
2, please.
The hostess takes them to a table. They sit. The hostess hands them menus and crosses away. Susan looks around. She suddenly spots Mike and Edie on the other side of the room.
There they are.
Okay, so what are we doing?
See if this is a date.
Mom, why are you torturing yourself? What else could it be?
It could be lunch, okay? A simple, innocent meal between 2 platonic. Why is she touching him?
Susan sees Edie stroke Mike's hair. Mike subtly pushes her hand away.
Sorry, I lost my place. Okay. This is a very Susan moment, so that's good. Sorry, I'm trying to find. Oh, here we go. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay, that's good. He's not into her. He thinks she's too pushy.
Edie puts her hand on Mike's shoulder and whispers something in his ear.
Well, now she's just throwing herself at him. It's pathetic.
Mike and Edie laugh uproariously at something. As they laugh, Mike takes Edie's hand. Susan is devastated. She turns to Jenna.
Let's get out of here.
Exterior parking lot. Moments later, Susan and Jenna get into their car.
Mom, you okay?
I'm not this pathetic. I can't not possibly be this pathetic. I make fun of women who act like this. Dang it! Okay, this was it for me. I know the score, and he is officially out of my mind. I'm going to walk away with my dignity intact. Let's go.
Susan backs up the car, but overshoots and backs into a red convertible. She and Jenna turn to see what they've hit.
Please tell me that's not.
Yeah, it's Edie's car.
They exchange a look. A beat. Jenna suddenly slumps down in her seat as Susan peels out of the parking lot. On their way out, we catch a car coming in containing Bree, Rex, Andrew, and Danielle. Interior Cowboy Bob's Steakhouse a little while later. Bree, Rex, Andrew, and Danielle are seated at a booth. A waiter wearing a cowboy hat is taking their order.
I'll put your orders in and then I'll be back soon with your drinks and your plates full of the salad bar.
He crosses away. Andrew looks across the room.
Hey, they got video games. Is it okay if we play until our food gets here?
This is family time, Andrew. I think we should all...
Go ahead and play.
Bree shoots Rex a look. The kids leave the booth. Beat.
I know you think I'm angry about coming here, but I'm not.
Rex stares at Bree and says nothing.
You and the kids want a change of pace, something fun, I get it.
Rex continues to stare at her.
But I do think tomorrow we'll all probably want something healthier. I'm thinking about serving chicken saltimbocca. Saltimbocca. Doesn't that sound good?
I want a divorce.
Bree looks at him in shock.
I just can't live in a freaking detergent commercial anymore.
The waiter walks up and sets a plate in front of Rex.
Salad bar's over there. Help yourself.
The waiter leaves. Rex and Bree sit in silence for a beat.
Why don't I get your salad for you?
Bree, did you hear what I just said?
Bree ignores him and crosses to the salad bar. As she starts putting together a salad, Edith Huber walks over.
Bree Vandekamp.
Oh, hello, Mrs. Huber.
We didn't get a chance to talk at Mary Alice's wake. How are you doing?
Expressionless, Bree stares at Mrs. Huber.
For a moment, Bree considered pouring her heart out to this woman she barely knew. She considered telling her how lone and hurt and betrayed she felt. But to do so would be admitting failure, and that was simply not an option.
Everything's great, just great.
Bree crosses back to the table. She sets the salad plate down in front of Rex and sits.
I got you the honey mustard dressing. The ranch looked a little suspect.
Are
Rex
we
just stares at her then.
Are we going to talk about what I just said?
If you think I'm going to discuss the dissolution of my marriage in a place where the restrooms are labeled chicks and dudes, you are out of your mind. Eat your salad.
Rex gives up and takes a few angry bites of the salad. Suddenly, a strange look comes over his face. He drops his fork, then grabs his throat. Bree looks up.
What is it? What's wrong?
It's in this.
What do you mean, what's in this? It's salad.
With onions.
What?
Rex tries to stand. He's unable to breathe.
You put onions in my salad.
No, I didn't. You're allergic to... Oh, wait.
Rex falls over onto the floor unconscious. As he falls, he knocks a plate off the table, which crashes to the floor. Interior Scott House bedroom, middle of the night. Zachary Scott, Mary Alice's son, sits bolt upright in bed. He's just heard something, a smashing around. He hears it again and again. He slips out of bed to go investigate. Exterior Scott backyard. Moments later, Zachary comes out to find his father, Paul, at the bottom of the now drained swimming pool, hacking away at the plaster with a pickaxe. Drenched in sweat, he's obviously been working for hours. Zach watches him for a moment, confused, then...
Dad?
Paul doesn't hear his son. He continues to feverishly swing away with the pickaxe. He's a man obsessed. Zach steps down into the pool, goes to his father.
Dad, what are you doing?
Paul, startled, turns around.
Zach, what are you doing up?
Why is this pool drained? What is going on?
Go back to bed.
Dad, listen to me. I think you need to get some help. We should call Dr. Lee.
I'm not calling anybody, and neither are you. Do you understand me?
Zach is stunned. This is a side of his father he's never seen. We pull back on the image of these two men standing in the middle of a drained swimming pool in the middle of the night. Fade out, end of Act 3. Act 4. Fade in. Interior Wisteria Lane, early morning. The three-line street is barely touched by sunlight.
The Friday after my funeral was the day that everything changed.
Interior Starbucks coffee morning. There's a line of people waiting to get coffee.
And it all began with a morning cup of coffee.
Susan steps to the front of the line.
I'll have a large decaf and a sweet roll. No, I shouldn't. Oh, what the heck? Make it two.
The counter person goes to fill her order. As she waits, she overhears two teenage girls in line behind her talking.
So are you going to go to the mall tonight or not?
Can't. I'm babysitting for Edie Britt.
Susan ears perk up. She begins to listen intently.
Can't you get out of it?
No, she's dropping her kids off to spend the night. She's paying time and a half. It's a major bank.
Spending the night, what's that about?
I mean, she's getting laid.
Susan's face goes ashen.
By who?
I don't know, somebody new, I guess.
Susan thinks for a beat, then grabs her purse and bolts for the door, knocking people out of her way en route. The counter person holding her order shouts after her.
Ma'am, your order.
Susan exits. Interior Scavo House kitchen day. Lynette feeds strained peaches to Patsy at the table. The kitchen is in complete disarray and Lynette looks even worse. After a beat, Patsy flings a handful of peaches at her mother. A look of utter defeat crosses Lynette's face.
Mommy.
Now what?
Porter comes rushing in.
Daddy's home.
Lynette's eyes widen with delight. Interior Scavo House living room continues. Tom is in the entryway. His boys surround him excitedly. Lynette rushes in holding Patsy.
Honey, I was expecting you home for another week.
I'm just here for the night. I'm going to Fresno in the morning. Daddy, did you bring us presents? I don't know. Let's see.
Tom reaches into the shopping bag. He pulls out a football. The boys cheer.
Now, I'm not going to give it to you unless you promise to go outside right now and practice throwing for 20 minutes. Promise?
We promise.
Tom hands the boys the football, and they rush outside.
I'm so glad you're back, Tom, even if it's for one night.
They kiss passionately, trying to maneuver around the baby in Lynette's arms. Tom suddenly takes Patsy out of Lynette's arms and places her in the crib.
Here, come with me.
Tom pulls Lynette into the bedroom. Interior Scavo house, bedroom continuous. Tom immediately starts taking off Lynette's clothes.
You've got to be kidding. I look awful. And I'm exhausted.
Sorry, baby, but I've got to have it.
Is it okay if I just sort of lay here?
Absolutely.
Tom lays Lynette down on the bed. He rips off his shirt and pants and then lays on top of Lynette and begins kissing her. After a beat, Lynette begins eagerly kissing him back.
God, I love you.
I love you more.
Tom begins undoing the buttons on Lynette's blouse. She suddenly pulls away.
Wait. I gotta tell you, I was having problems with swelling, so the doctor took me off the pill. You'll have to put on the condom.
Oh, what's the big deal? Let's risk it.
Lynette stares in disbelief at Tom's smiling face. She then rears back and punches him in the face, sending Tom reeling. She grabs her clothes and exits, leaving a stunned Tom clutching his face in pain. Exterior Solis house, front yard night. Carlos, still in his business suit, is bent over, peering closely at the lawn. Gabrielle emerges from the front door. She is dressed in a stunning evening gown.
I found my earrings. We can go now.
I don't think this lawn has been mowed. Was John here today?
Of course.
Carlos gets down on his knees. He starts feeling the grass.
Feel this. It hasn't been mowed. That's it. We're getting a real gardener.
Why?
Carlos turns and looks at Gabrielle.
Are you deaf? I just said he's not doing his job.
It's dark. You just can't see the lawn. It's been mowed.
It hasn't been. Feel this grass.
I think you're being silly. But if you want to talk to him, or if you want to fire him, fine. We can talk about it in the morning. Let's just get going, okay?
Annoyed, Carlos turns and heads for the car. An intense look comes over Gabrielle's face as she watches him go. Interior Tanaka house, entry hall a little later. A swanky party. The place is loud and packed. Carlos and Gabrielle enter. Carlos immediately stops an elderly Japanese gentleman who waves him over. Spot.
There's Tanaka. Time for me to go into my dance.
Carlos, wait. I need the keys. I left my purse in the front seat.
Carlos digs into his pocket and hands Gabrielle the keys. He heads into the party. Gabrielle watches him cross away, then grabs a young waiter as he's passing by her.
See that man over there? Can you make sure he's got a drink in his hand all night long?
Gabrielle hands the waiter a $20 bill. The waiter smiles and nods. Gabrielle turns and exits the front door. Interior car moments later, Gabrielle is speeding through the neighborhood with an intense look on her face. Exterior Solis house driveway moments later, the garage door lifts up automatically. Gabrielle quickly pulls up and jumps out of the car. She disappears in the garage. Moments later, she appears pushing the lawnmower. Exterior Solis house front yard a little while later, Gabrielle, still in her evening gown, is hurriedly mowing the lawn. Front yard a little while later, Gabrielle is furiously trimming her hedge. Across the street, a man in a bathrobe pulls his trash can to the curb. He looks up to see Gabrielle doing yard work in her gown. He is nonplussed. He's like, what? Interior Tanaka house, living room, a little later. Gabrielle slips in, calm and collected. She immediately looks for Carlos. She sees him standing with a group of men. He's laughing uproariously. He's obviously drunk. As Gabrielle is watching, the waiter crosses up and takes the glass from Carlos's hand and replaces it with another. Carlos doesn't even notice. Gabrielle breathes a sigh of relief. She looks in the mirror and sees a piece of shrub in her hair. She removes it. Interior Solis house kitchen the next morning. Gabrielle reads the morning paper. Carlos enters, putting on his jacket. He's clearly suffering from a hangover.
Honey, how late did I get home last night?
Don't worry. I drove. So, what would you like for dinner tonight?
Food's the last thing I want to talk about right now. I'll call you later.
I'll be here.
Carlos gives Gabrielle a kiss on the cheek, then exits the front door. Gabrielle waits for a beat, then runs to the window. Exterior Solis house front yard continues. Carlos is in the middle of the walkway, staring down at the lawn, which has obviously been mowed. He bends down to feel it. He stands up, thoroughly confused. Close on Gabrielle, who's watching from the window. She smiles. Interior hospital room night. Rex is lying awake in a bed, Bree's in a chair by his side. There is a silence. Then,
I can't believe you tried to kill me.
Yes, well, I feel badly about that. I told you Edith Huber came over and I was distracted. It was a mistake.
Since when do you make mistakes?
What's that supposed to mean?
It means I'm so sick of your need to be so goddamn perfect all the time. I'm sick of the bizarre way your hair doesn't move. I'm sick of you making our bed before I've had my morning pee. You're this plastic suburban housewife with her pearls and her spatula who says things like, "We owe the Hendersons a dinner." Jesus, Brie, where is the woman I fell in love with who used to burn the toast and drink milk out of the carton? And laugh. I need her, not this cold, perfect thing you've become.
Bree stares at Rex for a moment. She is devastated. Then, with all the dignity she can muster, Bree walks over and picks up a vase of flowers off the table next to Rex.
These need water.
Bree crosses into the bathroom. Into your hospital bathroom continuous, Bree shuts the door. She goes to the sink and begins to fill the vase up with water. She looks up and sees herself in the mirror. She begins to sob. She quickly puts her hand over her mouth to muffle the sound.
Bree sobbed quietly in the restroom for 20 minutes, but her husband never knew because when Bree finally emerged,
Into your hospital room a little later, Bree emerges from the bathroom looking as poised and as collected as she did going in.
she was perfect.
Into your Meyer house kitchen evening, Jenna watches as her mother paces back and forth. Susan is clearly agitated.
They're doing it. I know they are.
Mom, it's over. Let it go.
If you just got a chance to get to know me better. Maybe it's my fault. Maybe I didn't fight hard enough.
Maybe you didn't, but there's not much you can do about it now.
A look suddenly comes over Susan's face.
You have the stuff to make a cake?
I think so, but we're out of sugar.
Then I guess I'll have to go borrow a cup.
Exterior Brit home, front yard. Moments later, Susan strides up the walkway carrying a glass measuring cup. She knocks on the front door, no answer. She peeks into the window, nothing. Susan looks around to make sure the coast is clear, then walks to the backyard gate. She she gets in. We follow Susan as she slinks along the side of the house. She peers into a side window, still nothing. Slowly, she comes upon the back patio where she peeks through the sliding glass door. Inside the house, she sees lit candles everywhere. Plates of half-eaten food and empty wine glasses lay on the dining room table. However, Edie and Mike are nowhere to be found. Beat, Susan gingerly slides the glass door open. Into your Brit home den continue as Susan pokes her head inside.
Hello? Anybody home? I need to borrow sugar.
No answer. Susan quietly lets herself in. She walks a few steps when she suddenly spots various articles of clothing scattered on the floor. She reaches down and picks up a pair of men's trousers. She winces. She walks a few more steps and picks up a woman's bra. She examines it for a beat, then...
Oh my god! Yes! Yes! Yes!
Susan, hearing the obvious sounds of lovemaking, slowly sits down onto the coffee table. She is clearly heartbroken.
And just like that, the possibility that Susan had clung to, the maybe of Mike Delfino, was gone forever. And despite the precariousness of her situation, Susan took a moment to mourn her loss.
Susan drops her measuring cup and tosses the bra aside. She's too busy crying to notice the bra has landed on a lit candle. And Susan buries her head into her hands. The flames from the bra quickly spread to the drapes. Susan, smelling smoke, looks over and sees the blazing fire. She jumps up and grabs the trousers and beats them against the drapes, trying to put out the flames.
It didn't take Susan long to realize this was just not her night.
Suddenly, the trousers catch fire. Susan quickly drops them.
Is somebody out there?
Susan freezes. She realizes she's screwed. She makes a bad dash out the sliding glass door, leaving in her wake a room full of flames. As the flames continue to mount, our attention is drawn down to the floor where we see the glass measuring cup. Exterior Brit home, backyard continuous. Susan runs to the back fence. She turns back to take one last look. The entire den is on fire. Susan grimaces, then heaves herself over that fence and disappears from view. Exterior Brit home, front yard. An hour later, the street is filled with fire trucks and police cars. A crowd of onlookers, all in bathrobes, have gathered. They watch as the firemen try to put out the flames. Lynette, Bree, Gabrielle, and Susan are all gathered together watching the scene.
Do they know what caused it?
Apparently, Edie left some candles unattended in the den.
Poor Edie. Although I'm not going to miss that lime green carpeting she had.
Really, it's a shame. It didn't spread to her guest bathroom. That wall of waxes and waves and seashells. Ugh.
I know. Every time I went in there, I felt like I needed a Dramamine.
Gabrielle and Lynette share a laugh. Susan glares at them.
Come on, guys.
Susan, we were just kidding.
I know. I feel so bad for Edie. This will be so devastating for her.
Don't worry about Edie. She's a strong lady.
Yeah, she'll find a way to survive this.
Besides, what other choice does she have?
The four women stare at the flames. They consider the truth of these words as the light from the fire flickers on their faces. Just then, Mrs. Hoover shuffles over in her slippers.
Hey, have you heard the dirt? This fire started while Edie was having sex.
Do we know who the guy was?
No, apparently he's at the hospital. He suffered from smoke inhalation.
Susan, you don't look well. I think you should sit down.
Gabrielle takes Susan to the curb. Susan sits for a beat, lost in her own guilt. Suddenly,
So what's going on here?
Susan looks up to see Mike Delfino standing next to her.
And suddenly, like a phoenix rising from the ashes, there he was.
Susan, obviously stunned, rises.
Mike, I thought you were... Where have you been?
Well, I just got home from the movies. Did Edie have a fire?
Yeah, but she's fine. Everything's fine now.
Mike and Susan share a smile.
And just like that, Susan Meyer was happy, for once again her life had possibilities.
Exterior Delfino house front yard a little later, Mike and Susan wave goodbye to each other. Mike stands on his porch and watches as Susan exits into her home. He turns and enters his. Interior Delfino house living room continuous.
Not to mention a few unexpected surprises.
Mike reaches under his coat and takes out a gun. He puts it on the table. The phone rings. He answers it.
Hello? Yeah, I'm back. No, nothing yet. Relax. I'm getting close.
Exterior Scott house front yard morning. The driveway is littered with boxes. Susan, Lynette, and Gabrielle are busy loading up Susan's SUV.
The next day, my friends came together to pack away my clothes, my personal belongings, and what was left of my life.
Bree emerges from the house carrying a box.
Sir?
Oh. Are we good?
Mine froze.
Wait. Oh, same. Wait, before we go...
Susan pulls a bottle of champagne and paper cups from her car.
What's that?
I bought some champagne at the store. It was Mary Alice's favorite. I thought before we carted her stuff away, we'd have a toast.
Great idea.
Susan pops the cork and begins to pour.
All right, ladies, lift them up. To Mary Alice, a good friend and neighbor. Wherever you are, I hope you found peace.
Everyone ad-libs to Mary Alice.
Yeah.
Takes a sip. Beat. Bree bends down to pack away the final box into the car.
Hey, did you guys check out Mary Alice's dresses? She always said she was a size 6. She was a size 8. I guess you found the skeleton in her closet.
Not quite, Gabrielle. Not quite.
Suddenly, a coat falls out of the box Bree's carrying. When she bends over to pick it up, she sees a letter. Stuffed in one of the pockets, Bree pulls the letter out.
What's that, Bree?
Some kind of letter. It's addressed to Mary Alice.
How ironic. To have something I tried so desperately to keep secret, treated so casually.
Gabrielle takes the letter and starts to open it.
What are you doing? That's private.
Already been opened. What's the big deal?
But keeping secrets is hard, and keeping them from your friends is even harder.
Gabrielle unfolds the letter. The girls read over her shoulder.
I'm so sorry, girls. I never wanted you to be burdened with this. I really didn't.
Insert letter. I know what you did. It makes me sick, and I'm gonna tell. Back to scene. The women stare at it in stunned silence. Then,
What does this mean?
I don't know, but look at the postmark.
She got this the day she died.
You think this is why she...
Gabrielle stops, but everyone knows what she was about to say. The same thought is occurring to all of them. Finally,
Oh, Mary Alice, what did you do?
as our women remain frozen on the lawn, we pull back. A man jogs by. Two girls jump rope. Pull back further to show another man mowing his lawn. Cars are past. A beautiful day in suburbia, and nobody seems to be desperate. Fade out, the end. Desperate Housewives. Ah, but underneath. Episode 101, written by Mark Sherry. Okay. All right. Teaser, fade in, exterior cemetery day. Day 1. We open on a perfect lily in full bloom. The camera tilts up to reveal a suburban cemetery.
An odd thing happens when we die.
The camera pushes in past several headstones till it stops on one that reads, Mary Alice Young, beloved wife and mother.
Our senses vanish. Taste, touch, smell, and sound become a distant memory. But our sight expands.
The camera tilts up to the clear blue sky. Exterior Wisteria Lane day. The camera tilts down and we're in our neighborhood.
And we can suddenly see the world we've left behind so clearly.
The camera floats down the street, cars whizzing past, and then it floats over the lawn of the Solis house.
Of course, most of what's visible to the dead could also be seen by the living, if they'd only take the time to look.
We then push into the second-story window, interior Solis house bathroom day close on Gabrielle. She's submerged underwater.
Like my friend Gabrielle, I should have seen how unhappy she was, but I didn't.
Interior Solis house bedroom day flashback. Gabrielle models an expensive outfit for Carlos.
I only saw her clothes from Paris.
Solis house living room. Gabrielle smiles at Carlos, fastens an exquisite necklace around her neck.
And her platinum jewelry.
Solis house living room day flashback. Gabrielle squeals with delight as she takes a watch from a gift box. She passionately kisses Carlos, who stands beside her.
And her brand new diamond watch.
Solis house dining room day flashback. Gabrielle sits alone at the table. She sips a glass of wine. She then checks her Rolex. She looks back up, emotionless.
Had I looked closer, I'd have seen that Gabrielle Solis was a drowning woman, desperately in search of a life raft.
End of flashback. Interior Solis house bathroom day. We're back with the submerged Gabrielle. She comes up for air. We see that she's in a bathtub.
Luckily for her, she found one.
The camera pans over to reveal that John is in the tub with her. They lean into each other and kiss.
Of course, Gabrielle only saw her young gardener as a way to infuse her life with a little excitement.
Exterior Solis house front yard day continues. A Jaguar pulls up in the driveway. Carlos emerges.
But now she was about to discover just how exciting her life could get.
Interior Solis house bathroom continues. Gabrielle and John dry each other off. They hear a car door slam. Gabrielle goes to the window. She sees Carlos.
Damn it.
Gabrielle grabs John and pulls him out the window. Exterior Solis house front yard continues. As Carlos walks to the front door, he spots John's truck. Looks for John. He's not in the yard. Interior Solis house dining room. Gabrielle and John race down the stairs. Gabrielle is in a robe. John has a towel wrapped around his waist.
Out the window.
John grabs some clothing off the floor.
Wait, where's the rest of my clothes?
I'll find them. Just go.
She pushes John out the window. His towel catches on the windowsill. Gabrielle hears the door open. She takes the towel and wraps her hair in it. Carlos enters.
Carlos, you're home early.
My meeting got canceled. Didn't you take a shower this morning?
Gabrielle sees John's pants on the floor next to the sofa.
Well, I just finished a workout.
She pushes the pants under the sofa with her foot. Carlos starts to exit. A beat, he turns back.
Where's John?
John?
Yeah, that's his truck out front.
Gabrielle stares at Carlos, unable to speak.
Gabrielle was panicked. She knew if her husband discovered her secret, she would feel the full force of his wrath.
Hey, Mr. Solis.
Gabrielle turns to see John at the window, wearing a shirt and holding pruning shears. He trims the hedge outside the window. Gabrielle looks back at Carlos.
Hey, John, did you plant that ficus yet?
I'll get to it as soon as I'm done here.
But she was quickly reminded that what Carlos couldn't see.
Carlos and John continue to talk. John and Gabrielle exchange a meaningful glance. Exterior Solis, front yard continuous. John stands at the window holding the pruning shears.
Couldn't hurt her.
A new angle reveals John is naked from the waist down. Fade out, end of teaser. Act 1, fade in, exterior Wisteria Lane. Night 1. The street is empty. There's a feeling of utter serenity.
The peaceful facade of Wisteria Lane had recently been shattered, first by my suicide and then by the discovery of...
Interior Mayor House, kitchen night. Our 4 women sit at the table. A piece of paper lies in the middle of the table.
A note that suggested a suspicious reason for my desperate act.
The camera pushes in on the note till we see the words, "I know what you did. It makes me sick. I'm going to tell."
My friends gathered to discuss its implications.
Susan picks the note up.
I think we should give it to Paul.
Man's still in mourning, Susan. He'll freak out.
Gabrielle, it doesn't matter. She was his wife. He deserves to have all the facts.
We could do it gently. We could tell him about it over coffee and a pastry.
That'll be fun. Paul, we have proof your wife killed herself over some deep, dark secret. Not a Barraquois?
You could always go to the police.
The 4 women look at each other uncomfortably. This is a step none of them are prepared to take.
Maybe it was just some stupid practical joke.
If it was a joke, it was in very poor taste.
No, this was serious. I know it was. And we've got to find out what was going on.
Let's say we do. There's a chance we might not like what we find.
Isn't it worse to be in the dark? Imagining she did all sorts of horrible things.
It's the age-old question, isn't it?
All the women look at Bree quizzically.
How much do we really want to know about our neighbors?
Exterior Young House, backyard night. We open on a freshly dug hole in the bottom of an empty swimming pool. We tilt up to see Zach Young in a bathrobe, staring intently at the hole. He then looks back at his house. Interior Young House, garage night. Paul is at his workbench. On it is a large old wooden toy chest decorated with dancing bears and balloons. The chest is covered with dirt and mud. Exterior Mayor House, front yard later that night. Susan says goodnight to Bree, Gabrielle, and Lynette. She goes inside, and the 3 women head to their homes.
After talking for hours, my friends still hadn't agreed on what to do with the note, so they decided to talk about it in the morning after a good night's rest.
Interior Mayor House, bedroom later. Susan lays in her bed staring up at the ceiling.
But no one could sleep that night.
Interior Solis House, bedroom later. Gabrielle lays in her bed staring up at the ceiling.
They each kept thinking of my suicide and how terribly alone I must have felt.
Interior Vandekamp House, bedroom later. Bree lays in her bed staring up at the ceiling.
You see, loneliness was something my friends understood all too well.
Bree looks at the empty spot in the bed next to her. She thinks for a beat, then gets up and exits her bedroom. Interior Vandekamp House, living room. Moments later, Rex is lying on the sofa bed as Bree tiptoes in.
It's okay, I'm up.
Oh, good. I wanted to ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you remember the night you proposed?
Oh, for God's sake.
Bree crosses to the sofa and sits.
We sat on Skyline Drive and drank a bottle of apple wine. And when we finished it, you turned to me and said, "If you marry me, Bree Mason, I promise I'll love you for the rest of my life."
Rex stares at Bree. Beat.
And even though I was engaged to Ty Grant, and even though my father didn't like you, I said yes.
That was a long time ago.
You're going to cancel the meeting with that divorce lawyer, and we're going to find a marriage counselor.
Bree.
You promised.
Rex sees in Bree's face a vulnerability he hasn't seen in years. Finally,
All right.
with that, Bree rises as she crosses into the kitchen.
I'm going to make myself some warm milk. Would you like something to drink?
Anything but apple wine.
Interior Solis House, bedroom night. Gabrielle lays in her bed. She glances at the empty spot in the bed next to her. She then hears a sound and sees the door start to open. She quickly shuts her eyes. Carlos enters. He quietly enters and begins undressing. After a beat,
I know you're awake.
And I know you're a jerk.
Dinner with Tanaka ran long. I'm sorry.
Carlos leans over to kiss her. Gabrielle moves away.
I didn't marry you so I could have dinner by myself 6 times a week. Do you know how bored I was tonight? I came this close to actually cleaning the house.
Don't be this way. I got you a gift.
You're not buying your way out of this.
Carlos pulls out a velvet box from his coat. He tosses it to Gabrielle. She opens it and takes out a bracelet.
Is that white gold?
Yeah, put it on, then make love to me.
I'm not in the mood. We can stay up and talk.
When a man buys a woman expensive jewelry, there are a lot of things he may want in return. For future reference, conversation ain't one of them.
Gabrielle stares coldly at Carlos.
That was a joke.
Gabrielle throws the velvet box at Carlos. It misses. He starts after Gabrielle. She tries to run away, but he grabs her. He forces her down on the bed.
What the hell's the matter with you?
Let go of me.
You've been a nightmare for the past month. Tell me what's wrong. I can't fix it unless you tell me.
Gabrielle stops struggling. She realizes he gets it.
It's not exciting anymore, Carlos.
So what am I supposed to do?
I don't know. Be like you used to be. Surprise me. Take my breath away.
Gabrielle looks up at Carlos expectantly. Carlos gets it.
Okay.
Carlos exits into the bathroom. Gabrielle picks up the bracelet and puts it on her wrist. She holds out her arm and admires it for a beat. Interior Mayor House, bedroom night. Susan lays in her bed. She looks up at the empty spot in the bed next to her. She rubs her hand longingly over it. She then hears a sound. She sees a light on in the hallway. She heads out to investigate. Interior Mayor House kitchen continues. Julie is rummaging through the kitchen pantry. Susan enters.
Julie, do you know what time it is?
I forgot I have to make brownies for the chess club tomorrow.
Susan goes to the sink and pours herself a glass of water.
Do you want some help?
No, I'm good.
Susan looks outside and spots Mike Delfino walking his dog. A look of longing washes over her face. Julie notices this.
Dear diary, Mike doesn't even know I'm alive.
Shut up.
If you want to date him, you're going to have to ask him out.
I keep hoping he'll ask me out.
And how's that going?
Shouldn't you be making brownies for your nerdy friends?
I can't find the measuring cup. Have you seen it?
This question gives Susan pause.
The measuring
Becomes
cup.
evasive.
Well,
Exterior Edie Britt's house, night, flashback, Susan sneaks into the back door, measuring cup in hand. Back to scene.
last time I saw it.
Interior Edie Britt's house, flashback, Susan inside Edie's house, she throws the bra, the drapes catch on fire. Back to scene. Edie Britt's house, we see Susan run to the flaming house. Camera pans down to the measuring cup she left behind. Back to scene.
I'm sure it's here someplace. Keep looking.
Susan heads upstairs.
But I've looked everywhere.
Interior Britt house, burnt room next morning, day 2. Close on a charred measuring cup. We pull back to see Martha Huber and an insurance adjuster picking through the remains of Edie's charred home. Edie emerges from the kitchen, dazed.
All gone. Everything my ex-husband worked for all those years, gone.
Oh, you poor thing. And she just put up new wallpaper. I didn't care for it.
Edie crosses over to the adjuster.
So how long till I get my money? I know my policy was up to date, so you better not try to screw with me.
Well, you should have a check by the end of the week. Where can I get in touch with you?
Martha's letting me stay with her for the next few weeks.
Well, it was the Christian thing to do. I don't really have the room.
Well, I think I've got everything I need.
Mrs. Hoover bends over, picks up the charred measuring cup.
What's that?
It's your measuring cup. It's amazing how durable these things are.
It's not mine. Mine's plastic. God, this is depressing. Someone's got to buy me breakfast. You, come on.
The insurance adjuster obediently follows Edie. They exit. As Mrs. Huber continues to study the measuring cup, we fade out. End of Act 1. Act 2. Fade in. Exterior Mayor House, front yard, early morning. Susan, dressed in a ratty bathrobe and slippers, carries the trash out to the curb. She's stuffing it when suddenly she hears,
"Hey, Susan."
Susan turns to see Mike standing a few feet away. He has his dog on a leash.
Mike!
Susan quickly turns her back to him, tries to fix her messy hair.
What's wrong?
I didn't realize anybody would be out here. I just sort of rolled out of bed.
Oh, I'm sure you look fine.
Susan meekly turns back around to face Mike. The dog starts barking at her wildly.
Bongo, no! Sorry about that. He scares easy. Not that you're scary. I mean,
No, that's fine. I get it.
well, didn't mean to disturb you. See you around.
Mike starts to cross away. Susan hesitates. Then,
Mike, before you go, I've been meaning to ask you something.
Oh?
I was wondering if you wanted to have dinner with me
Just the two of us?
and Julie. It's a thing we do when a new neighbor moves in. We invite them over and make them a home-cooked meal, sort of a tradition.
Didn't you tell me you're a lousy cook?
Well, I order takeout.
You invite people over for a home-cooked meal, then give them takeout?
It's a fairly new tradition. I'm still working out the kinks.
Tell you what, how about I make dinner and you and Julie come over to my place?
Great.
Friday night, we'll eat around 6?
We'll be there. Bye, Bongo.
Bongo lunges at Susan, barking. Susan reacts as Mike pulls the dog away. Interior mayor's house kitchen moments later. Julie is having breakfast. Susan enters.
Delphina just made us dinner on Friday,
He did? Cool.
but only I'm going. You'll be coming down with something semi-serious that requires bed rests and fluids.
They share a smile as Susan exits. Interior Dr. Goldfein's office day. We start on a wall filled with diplomas and certificates of achievement. We tilt down to see an accomplished-looking man, Dr. Albert Goldfein, working at a desk.
Dr. Albert Goldfein was the most accomplished marriage counselor in the city.
Interior Dr. Goldfein's office day flashback. Dr. Goldfein slides a box of Kleenex to a weeping, fresh-faced young woman. She takes a tissue. Next to her sits her dazed husband in a heroin knot.
He had dealt with problems ranging from substance abuse.
Dr. Goldfein slides a box of Kleenex to a bald man with glasses. The man takes a tissue. Next to him sits his sluttily dressed wife.
To infidelity.
Goldfein's office day flashback. Dr. Goldfein slides a box of Kleenex to an elderly woman. She takes the box and smashes it into the side of her husband's head.
To domestic violence.
She continues to pound on him, forcing Goldfein to physically intervene. End of flashback. Interior Dr. Goldfein's office day. Dr. Goldfein gets up and crosses to the door.
Yes, Dr. Goldfein thought he had seen it all.
He opens the door to reveal Bree and Rex. Bree is holding a bag festooned with ribbons.
And then he met the Vandekamps.
Hello, I'm Bree. This is my husband, Rex. I brought you homemade potpourri.
Bree hands the bags to Dr. Goldfein, then proceeds into the room. Stunned, Dr. Goldfein looks to Rex.
The answer is yes. You're about to make a fortune off us.
Rex proceeds into the room. Dr. Goldfein looks down at the potpourri. He's not sure what to do with it. Interior Lynette's car day. An exhausted Lynette drives. Patsy's in a car seat directly behind her. Parker's in the passenger seat. The twins are in the back behind him. All three boys are jumping up and down, fighting, screaming, bouncing off the walls.
Boys, I'm not going to tell you again. Buckle up. So help me, I will duct tape you into those car seats if I have to.
Lynette suddenly sees a motorcycle cop in a rearview mirror. The siren is flashing.
Oh, crap.
Exterior street day. Moments later, Lynette is parked on the side of the road. The policeman leans into her window.
License and registration, please.
An annoyed Lynette hands them over.
Ma'am, do you know why I pulled you over?
I have a theory.
Your kids were jumping up and down. They should be sitting, wearing their seatbelts.
I yelled at them to sit, but they never listened to me. It's very frustrating.
Well, you're gonna have to find a way to control them. After all, that's your job.
The cop crosses back to his car and begins to fill out a citation. Lynette is stunned.
Though he'd been a policeman for 6 years, Officer Hayes had never found himself in a truly dangerous situation. Then again, he had never before told a woman how to raise her children.
Suddenly, Lynette gets out of her car. She starts towards the cop. The cop looks up.
Are you saying I'm a bad mother?
Ma'am, you need to get back in your car.
Lynette keeps approaching the officer.
I have no help. My husband's always away on business.
I'm gonna have to ask you to step back.
My babysitter's own has joined the witness relocation program. I haven't slept through the night in 6 years.
Close on the cop's hand as he surreptitiously unbuckles his holster.
And for you to stand there and judge me.
Lynette shakes with rage. The cop realizes he's dealing with a woman on edge. He has a choice to make. Finally.
Okay, I'm not going to give you a ticket. I'm just going to let you off with a warning.
I accept your apology.
Lynette summons whatever strength she has left, turns, walks back to the car, and drives off. Close on the cop's face, a single bead of sweat drips down the side of his face.
Buckle up.
Exterior residential street day, Gabrielle, dressed in sunglasses, sits in her car. She checks her watch. She looks out the window and sees a middle-aged woman emerge from a house. Gabrielle watches intently as the woman gets in a car and drives away. Once she's satisfied the woman is gone, Gabrielle emerges from her own car. Gabrielle knocks on the front door. Beat. John opens the door.
Mrs. Solis.
Gabrielle smiles. Interior John's bedroom a few moments later. John and Gabrielle walk into his bedroom. It's a typically messy teenage boy's room.
This is my room. Sorry about the mess.
Don't worry about it.
Gabrielle removes a plate with a half-eaten sandwich from his bed before sitting.
You just missed my mom. Friday, she coaches my sister's soccer team.
Yes, I heard. John, we need to talk about what happened the other day.
She motions for John to join her on the bed, and he does.
Mr. Solis isn't starting to catch on, is he?
No, he doesn't have a clue. God love him. But I'm thinking from now on, when you come up to garden, you're actually going to have to garden. What?
You're dumping me? In my own bedroom?
No, I'm not dumping you. Lately, you're the only thing keeping me going. I'm saying we can't do it at my house anymore.
Oh, so where are we going to do it then?
Gabrielle smiles at his naivety.
So how long does your sister's soccer practice usually last?
Mrs. Solis.
Come on, we don't have much time.
John rips off his shirt as Gabrielle lays back on the bed. Just as she does,
Ow, ow, ow.
Gabrielle reaches behind her and pulls out an electronic gizmo.
Sorry about that. That's my trigger pad. Want to play later?
No thanks.
John throws the control to the side and lays down on top of Gabrielle. As he kisses her neck, Gabrielle looks over and notices a framed picture of John as a young boy in a baseball outfit holding a Little League trophy. As John kisses her, she turns the picture away so the boy can't see what's about to happen. Interior Dr. Goldfine's office day later. Rex and Dr. Goldfine listen as Bree speaks. A tape recorder on the coffee table records their conversation.
So there's just the four of us. My son, Andrew, is 16, and my daughter, Danielle, is 15.
Bree begins to reach into her purse.
I don't need to see pictures.
Bree pulls back her hand.
Bree, you've spent most of the hour engaging in small talk.
Have I?
Yes, Rex has been very vocal about his issues. Don't you want to discuss your feelings about your marriage?
Bree looks down, unable to open up.
This is the thing you gotta know about Bree. She doesn't like to talk about her feelings. To be honest, it's hard to know if she has any.
Bree looks at Rex, hurt.
Does she feel anger, rage, ecstasy? Who knows? Whatever she feels, it's so far beneath the surface, no one can see it. She's always pleasant. And I can't tell you how annoying that is.
Bree's point of view, Rex's lips, which begin moving in slow motion. Bree hears nothing but the sound of her own heartbeat. She looks over at Dr. Goldfine, who listens intently to Rex. Suddenly, Bree goes from looking at Dr. Goldfine's face to a loose button on his coat. Bree looks at it suspiciously. It just hangs there. Bree's eyes narrow. She picks up her purse and reaches inside. Suddenly, we're back to speed as Bree notices that Rex and Dr. Goldfine are staring at her.
I'm sorry, what?
Would you like to respond to what Rex just said?
I'm not sure.
Is there some truth there? Do you use housework as a way to disengage emotionally?
Bree looks down and is surprised to see she has taken her sewing kit out of her purse. She looks back up at the doctor.
Of course not.
Bree lets the kit drop back in her purse. Interior John's bedroom day. John is lying in bed, completely relaxed. Gabrielle is getting dressed.
This is great. I got tons of homework tonight, and it's always easier to concentrate after sex.
Glad I could help. Education is so important.
John remembers something and jumps out of bed.
Oh, wait, I got something for you.
John retrieves a glass with a rose and gives it to her.
I was going to give it to you next time I mowed your lawn, but since you're here.
You got me a rose?
Not just any rose. Look at all the petals. There are no flaws. It's perfect.
Oh, John.
Just like you.
Gabrielle looks at John. His face is lit up with an emotion she's never seen before.
The truth hit her like a thunderbolt.
Spent days looking for the right one. I finally found it.
For John, this was no longer a meaningless little affair. Gabrielle could now clearly see he was falling in love with her.
Well, it's beautiful. Listen, I've gotta go.
Gabrielle hurriedly exits his room.
Goodbye.
End of Act 2. Act 3. Fade in. Exterior Wisteria Lane day. Susan is sitting on her front porch doing some sketching. She sees Mike Delfino drive up to his house. She puts down her sketch pad and starts heading over. As she walks, she sees Zach Young emerge from his house. He carries a bucket and some towels. He begins washing his front window. Susan takes this in, but continues on to Mike's. As Mike unloads his groceries, he spots Susan approaching.
Hey, you. So, what are we having?
Well, I talked with Julie. She suggested ribeye steaks, said it's your favorite.
Yeah, I love my steak.
She said when you put your mind to it, you can wolf down 2 at a sitting.
Oh, she shouldn't have told you that.
Just then, Edie drives up in her car.
Hi, Mike. Susan.
Edie.
So sorry about your house. How are you holding up?
I'm okay. I've lost every stitch of lingerie and makeup I own, but what doesn't kill us makes us stronger, right? Oh, someone having a party?
Nah, Susan's just throwing me one of her traditional welcome to the neighborhood dinners, except I'm cooking and having it at my house.
Traditional. I never got one.
Edie shoots Susan a look, then...
Won't be fancy, just some home cooking.
That sounds so good.
Susan suddenly had an awful feeling in the pit of her stomach.
I've been eating nothing but fast food lately.
As if she was watching an accident in slow motion.
Martha's always on a diet, so I usually eat by myself.
She knew it would happen, but was powerless to stop it.
Mike gives Susan a, "What do we do?" look. Susan sighs reluctantly.
Hey, would you like to join us?
That's sweet, but I don't want to get in the way. 3 is a crowd.
Oh, it's not like that. Susan's bringing Julie.
Edie looks at Susan expectantly.
More the merrier.
Well, this will be fun.
Tomorrow night. We'll eat at 6.
Great. Oh, and Susan? It'll make up for that dinner you never threw me. Ta!
Edie drives off. Beat?
Hey, should I have said we're having steak? She's not like a vegetarian, is she?
Oh no. Edie is definitely a carnivore.
Boom! As Mike and Susan continue talking, a boy on a skateboard whizzes by. We follow the boy as he travels onto the street. As he passes the Scavo house, we then push in on Mrs. Huber and Lynette, who stand in the front yard. Lynette hands Mrs. Huber a box filled with clothes.
Here's what I pulled for Edie. I should warn you, most of these clothes aren't that stylish.
Don't worry about it. Edie's a beggar now, which means she can't be a chooser. Of course, we don't have to rub salt in the wound.
Listen, I'm getting dinner ready.
Say no more, I'll get out of your hair. By the way, was that you I saw getting pulled over by a policeman?
Yeah, the boys were acting up in the car, and I couldn't get them to sit down.
Young boys can be so willful.
I try everything. I scream, I threaten, I beg. Nothing works. I don't know if it's because they're young and they don't understand, or if they're just getting some perverse joy out of testing me.
My mother used to have the worst time with me in the car. So one time, when I was acting up, she stopped and left me on the side of the road and drove off.
You're kidding.
Oh, she came back immediately, but I never misbehaved in the car again. You should try that.
Mrs. Huber, I could never leave my kids by the side of the road.
When it comes to discipline, sometimes you must be creative. My mother knew that, smart lady. Of course, she's in a home now, and never mind, and her mind has just turned to mush.
Mrs. Huber smiles sweetly to Lynette, who stands appalled.
Like I said, I'm getting dinner ready.
All right, well, goodbye.
Mrs. Huber takes the clothes and exits. As she walks onto the street, she notices Susan, who's returning from Mike's house. In the background, we see Mike entering his house carrying bags of groceries.
Susan, have you been able to find old clothes for Edie? She has nothing to wear.
I thought that was her look.
Oh, Susan, you're funny when you're catty. I'll drop by later.
Mrs. Huber continues on her way. As Susan starts to head back up her walkway, she again notices Zach doing yard work. She thinks for a beat, then crosses towards him.
Your dad home? I need to talk to him.
Interior Young House garage. Moments later, Paul is at the workbench. Behind him is an SUV. He's startled by the sound of the garage door lifting up. He turns to see Susan standing there.
Hey, Paul. Hope I'm not interrupting.
Paul nonchalantly covers the last bit of the toy chest with the plastic.
Actually, I'm getting ready to go somewhere.
Just wanted to stop by and say hello. You know, see how things are going.
Paul lifts the toy chest as he carries it towards the SUV.
Well, we're trying to move on. It's been pretty tough.
I can only imagine. I can only imagine, especially not knowing why Mary Alice,
Why, what?
why she did it.
Paul loses his footing and almost drops the toy chest. Susan rushes over to help him.
Here, let me.
No, I've got it.
Paul tenses up as together they load the toy chest onto the SUV. Then,
I'm sorry if I upset you.
Can I be frank?
Of course.
I don't care what her reasons were. Maybe she was depressed. Maybe she was bored. Doesn't matter. She abandoned her husband and her son. And I'll never forgive her for that.
Paul gets into the SUV. A stunned Susan watches as he pulls out onto the street and drives off. Exterior Wisteria Lane, late afternoon. Lynette and Susan speak over their common fence. Lynette is picking up toys. Her kids run around in the backyard.
You should have seen him. He's just so filled with rage.
So how is telling him about the note going to help?
Paul feels betrayed. If he knew she was being threatened, I don't know. Maybe it would help him to understand.
Or maybe it would blow up in our faces.
Okay, how about this? How about we...
Susan, I've been talking with Gabby and Bree. We've given it some serious thought, and we think it would be better to just drop the whole thing.
Mom!
I'm coming.
Lynette starts walking back to the house.
Drop it? No. Mary Alice was our friend. Don't we want to know what happened? Don't we want the truth?
Susan looks imploring at Lynette. Lynette gives Susan a look of regret, then exits into the house. Susan stands there lost in thought.
As I watch Susan, I can now see how naive she was.
Exterior bridge night 2. Paul Young gets out of his SUV. He goes around and takes the toy chest out of the back.
It's not enough to want the truth. You must know where to look for it, and the truth is elusive.
He carries it to the side of the bridge, checks to see no one is coming, and drops the chest into the river below.
Because it knows where to hide.
He watches as it sinks beneath the murky water. Fade out. End of Act 3. Act 4. Fade in. Interior mayor house, kitchen day. Julie is busy putting away groceries. There's a knock at the door. Julie crosses and opens the door to reveal Mrs. Huber.
Hello, Julie. I talked to your mom about donating some clothes for Edie.
Oh, she's at Mrs. Vanderkamp's, but I'll see if she left some stuff upstairs.
Julie exits upstairs. Mrs. Huber enters, sees the grocery bags on the counter. She crosses over and peeks inside. She takes out some grapes. She pops a few in her mouth. She then sees something that piques her interest. She takes a measuring cup out of the bag. She looks at it when Julie comes down, catches her with the measuring cup.
Julie, I was just admiring your new measuring cup.
Yeah, we lost ours.
Julie takes it back from her.
Really?
Sorry, I can't find the clothes. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If you want me to keep looking.
No, you've done more than enough, truly.
Mrs. Huber smiles and exits. Exterior Solis house front yard day. John prunes bushes next to the front porch. Gabrielle comes out. She comes out carrying the rose. She puts John, who smiles.
I'm going to be done here in about 30 minutes if you want to.
John, we need to talk.
Okay.
John stops working. Gabrielle looks over, notices Mrs. Huber across the street talking to a neighbor. Mrs. Huber glances over at Gabrielle and John. They share a wave.
Keep pruning that bush. Miss Huber's over there. I don't want her to see us talking.
John turns his back on Gabrielle. As she speaks to him, she can't see his face.
Is something wrong?
The other day when you gave me this rose...
You didn't like it.
No, it's not that. It's just... We need to be clear about something. What we're doing is fun. We're just friends, right?
Friends who have sex together.
Exactly. I was just concerned you might be thinking it's more than it is.
John is devastated, but covers well.
Hey, we're just hooking up, that's all.
I'm so glad.
John watches as Gabrielle exits into the house. Interior Solis house continuous. Gabrielle enters with the rose. She stops by a vase of mixed flowers. She places the rose in the vase. She considers it for a moment before lifting the rose out and placing it in an empty vase all by itself. She's pleased with this decision. Interior Dr. Goldfine's waiting room day. Bree sits in the waiting room. Dr. Goldfine enters.
Bree, Rex just called. He won't be able to meet you here today. Apparently there was an emergency at the hospital.
Oh, I wish he'd called me.
He suggested perhaps you'd like to talk to me by yourself. You've been very quiet in our joint sessions.
Bree looks down at Dr. Goldfine's coat. The same button is still dangling. She focuses on it for a beat. Then,
What? Oh, no, thank you. I have some things I need to get done anyway.
Okay.
Dr. Goldfine goes back in his office. Bree gets up to leave. Just as she reaches the door, she stops. She turns back and goes into Dr. Goldfine's office. Interior Dr. Goldfine's office. Continuous Dr. Goldfine is at his desk. Bree pokes her head in.
Dr. Goldfine, there is something you can do for me.
Oh, what's that?
Take off your coat.
Bree shuts the door in a definitive manner. Dr. Goldfine's eyes widen in a concerned manner. Interior Dr. Goldfine's office. Minutes later, Bree sits, sewing a new button onto the doctor's coat. Dr. Goldfine leans against his desk, a bit uncomfortable.
I'm sure Freud would not approve of this.
Who cares what he thinks? I took psychology in college. We learned all about Freud, a miserable human being.
What makes you say that?
Think about it. He grew up in the late 1800s. There were no appliances back then. His mother had to do everything by hand, just backbreaking work from sunup to sundown. Not to mention the countless other sacrifices she probably had to make to raise her family. So what does he do? He grows up and becomes famous peddling a theory that the problems of most adults can be traced to some awful thing their mother has done. She must have felt so betrayed.
I never thought of it that way.
He saw how hard she worked. He saw what she went through for him. Did he remember to say thank you once in a while? I doubt it.
Dr. Goldfine looks at Bree. He gets what she's saying.
Here you go.
Bree rises. Dr. Goldfine escorts her to the door and opens it.
Just so you know, many of Freud's theories have been discredited.
Good.
Bree leaves and closes the door behind her. Interior mayor house living room day. Susan heads down the stairs with laundry, Julie on her heels.
So now I'm going to dinner?
If Edie's gonna be there, I'm gonna need some emotional support.
I can't believe she wormed her way in. How could you let that happen?
Julie, I think you're old enough to know the truth. Your mother's a loser.
No, you're not.
This whole dinner's a disaster.
At least you get to hang out with Mike.
As a friend. Once men think of you as a friend, it's all over.
Well, same goes for Edie. She'll just be hanging out with Mike too.
Luckily for Edie, there's nothing friendly about her. I can't compete.
You know what you could do? Go early so you can have some alone time with Mike.
That's a great idea. Edie will be arriving at 5:45, which means her dress will get there about 5:30, so I'll shoot for 5.
Interior Lynette's car traveling day. Lynette drives. She looks in her rearview mirror to see the boys are again out of their seatbelts and bouncing off the walls.
Buckles. Unbuckled. Oh. I'm serious. You are going to be in so much trouble if you don't get back in those seats.
Slow motion. Lynette's point of view as the boys continue to jump up and down. They look at her, an evil glint in their eyes.
For the first time, Lynette could see this was not the innocent play of children. She was being challenged, so she decided it was time to get creative.
Lynette quickly pulls over to the side of the road. She gets out, marches around the car, and opens the rear door.
Out!
The boys stare at her.
You heard me. Get out of the car. If you can't behave, then you can't ride.
The 3 boys share an incredulous look, then quietly file out. Lynette slams the door shut, gets back in the car, and takes off. The boys watch, stunned, as she drives off. Exterior residential street continuous. Lynette pulls around the corner and stops the car. For a few moments, she taps her fingers and checks her watch. Finally, she takes a deep breath, does a U-turn, and drives back down the street. Suddenly, panic washes over her face. Her boys are gone. She quickly parks the car and jumps out.
Boys? Boys!
No response. Lynette stands looking around nervously at the empty sidewalk. End of Act 4. Act 5. Fade in. Exterior residential street day a few minutes later. A frantic Lynette runs from house to house, searching for her sons.
Porter, Preston, Parker, if you're hiding, you gotta stop now, because Mommy doesn't think it's funny.
Lynette sees a beefy middle-aged woman staring at her through a screen door.
Excuse me, I'm looking for my kids, 3 boys with red hair. Have you seen them?
The beefy woman steps out of her house.
Yeah, I also saw you drive off and leave them.
I was just trying to scare them into behaving. Did you see where they went?
Seems to me you have some anger management issues.
I have 4 kids under the age of 6. I absolutely have anger management issues.
Well, I think you need to talk to somebody. Abandoning your children?
I didn't abandon them. I came back.
I'm just saying it's not normal.
Well, my kids aren't normal. Now, I don't have time for this lady. Did you see my kids or not?
They're in my kitchen.
What? Boys, get out here.
Lynette starts towards the house.
But I don't think they should go anywhere until you've calmed down.
The 3 boys suddenly appear at the screen door.
Boys, get in the car.
She's got cookies.
Bring them. We're leaving.
The boys emerge from the house. The beefy woman grabs Lynette's arms.
You boys stay put. Now you and I are going to have a little chat.
Lynette tries to wrestle herself free.
Let go of me.
You shouldn't scare children into behaving. It's not right.
You're hurting my arm.
Beefy woman holds on. The boys see Lynette struggling. Porter comes out of the house.
Leave my mommy alone.
You stay where you're safe.
Porter runs over and bites the woman on the leg.
Mom, you son of a...
As Lynette frees herself from the woman's grip, Preston shoves the woman away. The beefy woman the woman stumbles back and falls down. Lynette, horrified, turns to the boys.
Run, boys, run.
Lynette and the boys race to the car. The woman picks herself up off the ground.
You get back here or I'm calling social services.
As Lynette and the boys reach the car,
Are you guys all right?
Porter and Preston give her a thumbs up. Lynette breathes a sigh of relief. They all get in the car. As Lynette fumbles for the keys to the ignition, she sees the woman lumbering toward the car.
Oh, crap. Boys, you need to put on your...
As Lynette is speaking, she turns and sees the boys have already put on their seatbelts. Lynette smiles ironically. She then turns back and peels out, leaving the woman standing in the middle of the road. Interior Celeste's house, living room day. Gabrielle is staring intently at something. At first we don't see what it is, but then the camera pans over and we see she's staring at the vase containing John's perfect rose. Sound effects of the car horn. Horn. Snapped out of her reverie. Gabrielle crosses to the window, her eyes wide. Exterior Celeste's house, front yard, continuous. Carlos stands in the driveway alongside a brand new Maserati. Atop is a huge ribbon. Gabrielle emerges from the house.
Oh my god, what have you done?
I saw it when I drove by the dealership. I thought Gabrielle would look so beautiful in this.
Carlos?
It cost me an arm and a leg. It's got GPS navigation, a 200-watt sound system, rear parking sensors.
It's just beautiful.
Carlos leans in close, whispers in her ear.
So, did I take your breath away?
Absolutely.
Is it the best gift you've ever gotten?
Gabrielle hesitates.
Gabrielle knew she could never tell Carlos the truth. She also knew that it's the rare man who understands the value of a single perfect rose.
Gabrielle answers Carlos with a kiss. They embrace. Across the street, we see John in Mrs. Hoover's front yard doing yard work. He looks up and sees Gabrielle and Carlos embracing. He just stares at them. Exterior Mike Delfino's house, front porch day. Susan approaches Mike's door, past Mike's dog Bongo, who growls. She presses the doorbell. Mike opens the door.
Susan.
I think we've lost our Susan. She's not in the chat anymore. But I'll keep my eye out for the Facebook message. So
I can take it.
Oh, you got it? Cool.
I can take it.
Awesome.
Okay. I hope you don't mind. I came early to help you set up.
Just then, Edie emerges from the kitchen.
Edie?
Hey, Susan. Don't worry. Mike and I have everything under control.
Oh, okay.
Come on in.
Susan begins to enter. Bongo begins barking fiercely.
Quiet, Bongo. I don't know why he barks at you.
Edie crosses and kneels next to Bongo.
I wouldn't take it personally, Susan. Dogs are very sensitive. Who knows what freaks them out? Strange noises, weird smells. But he loves me. Right, Bongo?
As the dog licks Edie's face, Edie shoots Susan a smug look.
In the distance, Susan thought she heard a bell ring. Round one had started.
Interior Dr. Goldfine's office day. Bree, Rex, and Dr. Goldfine are all in the middle of a heated counseling session.
I'm just saying, the whole "it takes two to mess up a marriage" theory is bull. The problems we have are because of her.
That's not true.
Fine. What have I been doing over the past 20 years that's so awful? Please tell me.
Bree stares angrily at Rex.
You're not saying anything, because I've been a great husband, and it kills you to admit that.
Bree wants to say something, but stops herself. Dr. Goldfine sees this, then glances down and sees he's been absent-mindedly playing with the jacket button that Bree repaired.
Rex, I'm curious. Do you ever acknowledge the benefits of living with Bree?
Huh?
By your own admission, your home is always clean. Your clothes are always freshly pressed. She sounds like a wonderful cook. Despite her flaws, do you remember to say thank you?
Thank you?
Yes.
As Rex ponders this question, a brief, meaningful look passes between Bree and Dr. Goldfine. Interior Mike Delfino's house a while later day. Everyone is seated, having dinner. Bongo is up on the table, licking gravy off of Edie's plate.
Bongo, down.
Bongo disappears.
Sorry about that. So who's the guy who lives across from Mrs. Hoover again?
That's Mr. Mullen. Just know, if he invites you in, you'll have to meet all of his pets.
That's okay. I love animals.
He's a taxidermist.
Thanks for the warning.
Edie takes note of the flirtation between Susan and Mike. She decides to take action.
Isn't Mr. Mullen's brother your divorce attorney?
Yes, yes, he was.
Can I say something? In my heart, I still believe you and Carl will get back together.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've never seen two people more in love. She'll never have that kind of chemistry with any other man. Never.
Edie just smiles sweetly at Susan.
It was something Susan could do to keep a smile on her face. Or it was everything Susan could do to keep a smile on her face. Round 2 was underway, and she was already taking a beating.
You know, Mrs. Britt,
What Edie hadn't counted on was Susan had someone else in her corner.
do you know who I always liked? Mr. Rothwell, your fourth husband?
He was my second husband. I've only ever been married twice.
Twice? Weren't you married to the guy with the tattoos you took away in handcuffs?
Julie, she wasn't married to Javier. He was just one of her special friends. Now, we should probably change the subject. Unless you'd like to keep talking about it.
Edie just stares at Susan. Suddenly Bongo jumps up, starts licking Edie's plate again.
Bongo, no.
Oh, Mike, get a load of this. While you were in tossing the salad, I taught him a trick. Bongo, stand up. Up.
Bongo raises up on his hind legs.
Wow, I can barely get him to sit.
Edie gets on her knees. Bongo showers her with doggy kisses.
Susan was furious with Edie for using a dog to ingratiate herself with its owner. She was also furious with Mike for not seeing through this blatant maneuver.
Boy, he just loves you.
But mostly, she was furious with herself for not having thought of it first.
Mike watches adoringly as Edie plays with Bongo. Susan notes his affectionate smile towards Edie.
You know what? I'm going to go get the rest of the desserts.
Interior Delfino house kitchen continuous. Susan enters as she puts the desserts on plates. She hears,
Oh, you're just the best dog ever.
I've never seen him walk on 2 legs.
Dogs know who to come to. Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
a look of desperation washes over Susan. She looks around, spots the bowl of gravy on the counter. She takes a fingerful of gravy and dabs a little behind her right ear. Interior Delfino house continuous. Susan enters carrying 3 desserts.
Here's dessert.
Susan sets the plates down before Mike, Edie, and Julie.
Mike, this looks yummy.
As the other 3 dig in, Susan inconspicuously lowers her hand and tempts Bongo with the gravy on her finger. Bongo crosses over and immediately begins licking her hand. After a beat, she then gets down on her knees, leans into Bongo, who, smelling more gravy, proceeds to lick the back of her ear.
That's right. Good Bongo.
Look at that. Looks like Bongo's finally warming up to Susan.
Yeah, we just got off on the wrong foot. We're best buddies now.
Bongo stops licking and starts making a hacking sound.
Bongo, you okay?
What's the matter with Bongo?
I don't know. He's never made that sound before.
Mark rises and goes to Bongo. As he does, Susan backs away.
What's wrong with you, fella?
Julie looks at Susan. She suddenly becomes alarmed. Susan looks over. Julie points to her ear, silently mouthing, "Where's your earring?" Susan quickly grabs her earlobe. Realizing the earring is missing, she and Julie share a panicked look. Exterior Delfino house moments later, a panicked Mike quickly carries a still hacking Bongo to his truck. A concerned Edie, Susan, and Julie follow after him.
Call the vet. His number's on the fridge. Tell him I'll be right there.
Don't worry about a thing. I'll stay here and clean up.
Thanks, Edie.
Is there anything I can do?
No.
Mike puts Bongo in the truck and peels off. Susan forlornly watches him go. Edie throws Susan a disapproving look, then turns and heads back into the house. Interior young house, kitchen night 3. Zach is seated at the kitchen table. He looks at a photo of Mary Alice. Paul enters. He carries an overnight bag and keys. He puts the bag down on the floor and tosses the keys on the counter.
It's late. Why aren't you in bed?
I couldn't sleep.
What about those pills I gave you?
I didn't like the way they made me feel.
Paul crosses to Zach and puts his hand on his son's shoulder.
I'll be going out of town again in a few days. While I'm gone, I want you to make sure the workmen who fix the pool have everything they need.
We just buried Mom 2 weeks ago, and you're leaving me alone again?
I think we both know you can take care of yourself. Be careful with that. It's my favorite photo of your mother.
Paul exits. Zach looks at the photo for a beat, then crumbles it up in his hand. Interior veterinarian's waiting room night. Mike is there. Susan enters.
Hey,
Hey,
how's Bongo doing?
I'm waiting to see if they'll have to operate.
Oh, God.
Susan sits. There's an awkward moment of silence.
Mike, I'm so sorry about this.
I'm sorry I snapped at you earlier. I was just worried about...
I know. It's okay.
Susan and Mike share a smile. Just then, the vet emerges.
Good news. We won't have to do surgery.
Oh, thank God. It's great.
Yeah, we're giving Bongo something to help pass the earring. When he does, would you like us to retrieve it?
I'm going to say no.
Then you'll be able to take him home in about an hour.
The vet exits.
Wow. You must be so relieved. Mike?
Susan notices that Mike has gotten a little emotional.
I'm sorry. I was really worried.
Well, he's your dog. I get it.
Actually, he was my wife's dog. One of the last things she said to me in the hospital before she died was to be sure that I looked after him. I told her I would. And just like that, Susan could suddenly see something she'd never seen before. He meant so much to her. Mike Delfino was still in love with his ex-wife. If something happened, I'd have felt like I failed her. Sorry. I know that sounds dumb. And she knew right then that neither she nor Edie would be laying claims to his heart anytime soon.
No, it doesn't. Not at all.
So she decided for now she could settle for just being his friend.
Susan puts her arm around him. She pats him on the back. Interior Delfino House kitchen night. Edie is there cleaning up. She opens a cupboard. She sees something odd that catches her attention. A hand-drawn map of Wisteria Lane is tacked in the cupboard, with notes and names of the occupants next to each home. She glances at it for a moment before grabbing paper towels and returning to her cleaning. Exterior Wisteria Lane. Later that night, the camera pulls back from the exterior of Mike Delfino's house and begins to float down the street as it did in the teaser.
Yes, as I look back at the world I left behind, it's all so clear to me.
Susan arrives home. She gets out of her car.
The beauty that awaits to be unveiled, the mysteries that long to be uncovered.
She sees Paul Young bringing in his trash cans. He sees Susan.
But people so rarely stop to take a look.
Paul and Susan give each other a little wave, then go inside their homes.
They just keep moving.
The camera pulls out of the window and tilts up to show a star-filled sky. Exterior forest night, the camera tilts down to reveal a lake. The water is eerily calm. The surface is as smooth as glass.
It's a shame, really. There's so much to see.
Suddenly the toy chest pops up to the surface, and we... Fade to black, the end! Thanks. Desperate Housewives, episode 102, Pretty Little Picture, written by Oliver Goldstick. Desperate House... Oh, I said that. Teaser, fade in, interior crematorium day, day 1. Tight on the face of Mary Alice Young. Her eyes closed, expression peaceful.
After I died, I began to surrender the parts of myself that were no longer necessary.
The pine lid of a box closes over her face, revealing a nameplate that reads, Mary Alice Young. Series of shots. A hand switches on the machinery. Gears begin to move.
My desires, beliefs, ambitions, doubts, every trace of my humanity was discarded.
The door to the furnace opens. The pine box is across a ramp towards a chamber of fire.
I discovered when moving through eternity, it helps to travel lightly.
We move over and ahead of the box and into the flames.
In fact, I held onto only one thing, my memory.
We push through the flames and onto exterior Wisteria Lane. Night, pre-dawn, night 1. Close on a chimney on a roof. We pull back and begin floating down our street.
It's astonishing to look back on the world I left behind. I remember it all, every single detail.
We float over to the driveway of the Vandekamp house, then push into the second-story window. Interior Bree's house bedroom. Continuous Bree lies awake in bed. She checks the clock next to her.
Like my friend, Bree Vandekamp.
Interior Bree's house living room night flashback. Rex, Paul, and Mary Alice are there. A beaming Bree enters carrying a tray of appetizers.
I remember the easy confidence of her smile.
Interior Bree's house dining room night flashback. Rex, Paul, and Mary Alice are seated at the table. Bree pours brandy over a flambe, lights a match, and sets it ablaze. Everyone is impressed.
The gentle elegance of her hands.
Interior Bree's house foyer. Bree says good night to her guests. Rex is beside her.
The refined warmth of her voice.
Bye.
Bree shuts the door.
But what I remember most about Bree...
Rex, wasn't that a lovely...
She turns to Rex, who coldly walks away without acknowledging her. Bree reacts.
Was the look of fear in her eyes.
End of flashback. Interior Bree's house bedroom night pre-dawn. Close on a clock that reads 5:35 a.m. Bree stares at the clock for a beat. She then gets out of bed, puts on a robe, and heads for the door.
Bree had started to realize her world was unraveling, and for a woman who despised loose ends.
Interior Bree's house living room continuous. Bree descends the stairs. She crosses to Rex, who lies asleep on a fold-out sofa.
That was unacceptable.
Rex? Rex, you need to get up.
Rex reluctantly wakes up.
It's not even light out.
Please hurry. If the kids see you sleeping down here, they're going to start asking questions.
Bree pulls off the sheets and starts to fold them. Rex remains curled up in bed.
Let them ask. I don't care anymore.
Well, I care. They don't need to be burdened with our marital problems. And while we're working things out, the least we can do is try to keep up appearances.
Oh yeah, appearances. I keep forgetting about appearances.
Rex sits up and begins to put on his slippers.
Oh, Rex, you look so tired.
I didn't sleep. This damn thing is so uncomfortable.
Oh, why don't you just move back upstairs and sleep in our bed?
We're in marriage counseling, Bree. I think that would confuse things.
It's just, I miss you.
I know you do. Of course, if I don't start getting some sleep pretty soon, I'll be forced to move back upstairs out of sheer exhaustion.
Bree waits till Rex has gone upstairs. She then crosses to open the desk drawer. She removes a pair of pliers.
Yes, Bree was afraid of many things, but if there was one thing she wasn't afraid of...
Bree goes to the sofa bed. She pulls back the mattress to reveal several metal springs have been cut and are jutting straight up. She cuts one more and aims it straight up.
It was a challenge.
She puts the mattress back down and smiles contently. Fade out, end of teaser. Act 1, fade in, exterior Wisteria Lane morning, day 2. Establishing shot, a paperboy rides down the street.
The day on Wisteria Lane began like any other day, with a cup of coffee and the morning paper.
Interior Lynette's house, kitchen morning. Camera pans across. Lynette reads the paper at the breakfast table. The kids fight with plastic swords. Lynette continues reading, unperturbed.
While Lynette read the business section...
In exterior Gabrielle's house, front porch morning. Camera pans across. Gabrielle reads the paper. She holds out a coffee cup to be refilled. Her housekeeper, Yao Lin, refills it.
And Gabrielle studied the fall collections.
Interior Bree's house, kitchen morning. Camera pans across. Bree reads the paper at a beautifully set table. She adjusts a flower in her floral arrangement.
And Bree searched for decorating ideas.
Interior Susan's house, kitchen morning. Susan reads her paper and eats toast. As she eats, she gets crumbs all over herself. Julie wipes her face with a napkin.
Susan scanned the front page and saw something that caught her eye.
Susan sits up in her seat. Close on the paper, push in on the date, October 15th, 2004. Susan rises and goes to a calendar on the wall. She flips the September page over, and there on the October page, a post-it is stuck to the date of the 16th. In black ink are the words, Mary Alice's dinner. Susan pulls the post-it off. Exterior Wisteria Lane, day later, Susan walks quickly to Lynette's house. The post-it in her hand, she gets to Lynette's front door and knocks. A pensive look crosses her face. Exterior Lynette's house, front porch, 1 month earlier, flashback day. Suddenly, Mary Alice opens the door.
Well, it's about time.
Be nice. I come bearing snacks.
Susan, in a ponytail and different attire, follows Mary Alice inside to the sounds of laughter. Interior Lynette's house living room continuous. Susan and Mary Alice enter to find Lynette, Bree, and Gabrielle at the table.
Lynette, these cards are sticky.
I know. Preston used the 3 of diamonds to scoop jam out of the jar.
Well, we're just thankful for the 49 cards we have.
Susan and Mary Alice take their places at the table.
Hello. Sorry I'm late.
So, Susan, I was just telling the girls I want to throw a dinner party.
Really?
Yes, I mean, how long have we all lived on this street? We've never done a big group thing.
I think that's a great idea.
Paul never likes to have people over. But to heck with him, I'm doing it.
So when is this shindig?
How about a month from tonight? That'd be the 16th. Good for everyone?
Mary Alice looks at Bree, Gabrielle, and Lynette. They ad-lib, okay, sounds good, you're on, etc.
Should we all make something?
Oh, no, no. This is my party. I've been wanting to have everyone over for years. Oh, I'm so happy we're finally doing this. It's going to be so much fun.
Mary Alice smiles broadly. End of flashback. Exterior Lynette's house, front porch continues. Susan is there, sadly contemplating the memory. Suddenly, Lynette opens the door.
Hey,
Susan holds up the sticky note.
I know. Her dinner.
Exterior Wisteria Lane, day, and an hour later. The women are gathered in front of Lynette's house.
How could we have forgotten all about this?
We didn't exactly forget. It's just usually when the hostess dies, the party's off.
Lynette.
I'm not being flip. I'm just pointing out a reality.
Mary Alice was so excited about it. So sad.
The women are silent for a moment. Then,
I think we should go through with it. Really? Wouldn't that be in poor taste? No, it's sort of a way to honor Mary Alice. It was so important to her.
We could all use a fun night.
Some flatware that I've been dying to show off. Lynette,
I'm in.
I'll make braised lamb shakes.
I'm still in.
So how many will I be cooking for?
7. 3 couples and Susan. Does that sound right?
No, it sounds very, very wrong.
Oh.
Is there somebody you'd like to invite?
just then, Mike Delfino jogs by the 4 women. He waves at them. Susan smiles and waves back. He keeps going. The other 3 women slowly look at Susan.
I have an idea.
Interior Gabrielle's house, foyer, morning. Carlos stands near the stairs, carrying his laptop. Gabrielle right behind.
A dinner party? Honey, I may be working late. The Dillman proposal is still a complete mess.
No, you promised you'd be home early every day this week.
He crosses past her.
I'll try, but I can't guarantee anything. This is business.
Says the prince as he rides off into the sunset. Boy, did the movies ever get that wrong?
You know what your problem is? You're very tense. You should go to a spa or go shopping. Find a way to relax.
Carlos grabs his coat and exits. Gabrielle thinks for a beat, then picks up the phone, dials. Into your classroom morning intercut conversation, John answers his cell phone.
Hello?
Where are you?
Algebra.
You free at 4?
I'm not sure. I've got track after school.
Well, get here as fast as you can. My husband says I need to relax.
You want me to stay in my gym clothes like last time?
If you would, please.
Gabrielle hangs up. Interior Lynette's house, kitchen day. During the following, Lynette finishes unloading the dishwasher, wipes down the counter, and begins to fold laundry. Tom is there, eating a banana. He's still eating the banana. He really enjoys it. I mean, this man is...
Sorry, I was hoping I could get the cat that's in front of my laptop to move. Okay. A dinner party?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Bree's cooking. Everyone's coming.
You know what? I haven't even had the chance to unpack yet, honey. I just need to chill for the next few days.
Tom, there'll be liquor and hors d'oeuvre, and grown-ups without children, and silverware. Remember silverware?
Honey, could you take this in for me?
Have you heard anything I just said?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wiped out 3 cities in 6 days. My head is just pounding. I'm not ready for a dinner party.
I already got a sitter.
Can you cancel her? Please, look, let's just stay in tomorrow night. We can get a bottle of wine, rent a video, and I just want to hang out with my best gal.
He kisses her.
That's all.
I was so looking forward to that night out.
I know, sweetie. I'm sorry, but I'm beat. I mean, do you remember what it's like to work a 60-hour week?
Tom lays the banana peel into the laundry basket, then exits. Lynette just stands there, taking in the mess around her. Interior Bree's house kitchen day. Rex is packing his briefcase. Bree prepares his lunch.
A dinner party? Do I have to go?
Well, given that we're hosting it, I'd say so. By the way, you won't be drinking at this party.
Why is that?
Because when you drink, you get chatty. No one needs to know we're seeing Dr. Goldfine.
If you spent half as much time working on our problems as you do covering them.
Not a drop.
You know, this is ridiculous. And this whole thing about us taking tennis lessons.
Well, the nurses at your office may start wondering why you're disappearing 3 times a week. Tennis lessons is a plausible alibi.
Bree hands him his lunch just before he exits.
So these tennis lessons we're taking, how are we doing?
My backhand's improving immensely, but you're still having problems with your serve.
Of course.
He exits. Exterior Susan's house, front porch day. Susan is there with Carl. There's tension. Carl's girlfriend, Brandy, with an eye, stands in the driveway next to the car.
A dinner party?
It's tomorrow night, so if you could just keep Julie an extra day.
Fine, but that's all. Brandy and I leave Sunday for a week up at the cabin.
What cabin?
Carl gestures to Brandy. Brandy sips from a soda, then gives Susan a nice wave. Susan gives her a far weaker wave back.
Brandy wanted some place where we could get away. Escrow just closed yesterday.
You can afford a cabin, but you can't scrape up child support?
Well, the check is in the mail.
Susan flips open the mailbox. It's empty.
No, it's not.
Just then, Julie appears in the doorway, stopping them cold.
I found my dental card. I'm ready. Stop fighting.
We are being as nice as we can possibly. We are being as nice as we can possibly be to one another.
Like I said, stop fighting.
As Julie gives her mom a quick kiss, Brandy finishes her soda and tosses the empty can at the garbage can next to the front porch. It hits the rim and lands inches from Susan's foot as Brandy and Carl continue on to the car.
Excuse me. Brandy, do you mind?
Oh, okay.
Brandy starts to move to the can. Carl stops her.
Wait, Susan, you're right there. You can pick it up.
I could, but she's the one who threw it.
Come on, don't be petulant. Just pick up the stupid can.
No.
I can pick it up.
Honey, stay out of this.
Susan looks defiantly at Carl.
Fine. This is so typical.
Carl, with a K, crosses over to retrieve the can. Just as he reaches down, Susan kicks it out from his reach.
I'm sorry. Was that petulant too?
You know what? Just pick up the damn can yourself.
Carl turns and starts back for the car.
Yeah, well, you just go to hell.
Susan tries to kick the can at Carl, but it misses and is sent bouncing down the sidewalk, finally setting near a pair of feet which belong to Mike Delfino. Stopped walking his dog. He's apparently seen everything.
You want me to pick it up?
Off Susan, dying inside. Ugh. Interior Young House. Kitchen day. Paul and Zach Young sit at the breakfast table in silence. Paul scans the headlines of a large stack of newspapers. Ignoring his food, Zach registers this.
Mrs. Warmington said she looked for Mom's obituary and couldn't find it. Did you put one in?
I've had other things on my mind, Zach.
How could you not do that? People are going to think we don't care about her.
I doubt people will give it much thought. Don't worry about it.
You never talk about her. She hasn't even been dead a month, and it's like you've totally forgotten she ever existed.
It's a little early for this kind of talk.
Well, maybe when you die, I won't put in an obituary.
Beat.
That will be your choice to make, assuming you outlive me.
Whew. Paul goes back to reading. After a beat, Zach continues eating. Interior Gabrielle's house, living room later. Gabrielle is on the phone.
Mom, it's no big deal. Carlos and I are driving in for the baptism. Problem solved.
There's a knock at the door. Gabrielle opens it, revealing John, looking hot in his PE shorts. Gabrielle motions for him inside.
Okay, fine. You stay with Aunt Maria, and I'll drive Nana to church. Take your clothes off.
Gabrielle watches as John kicks off his shoes, then peels off his shirt.
Uh-huh. I gotta go, Mom. Yes, right now. Okay, you can give me the directions later. Bye. Hi, how was school?
I got an A- on my biology exam.
You did? Well, let's see what you learned.
And with that, Gabrielle and John just go to town. After a steamy beat, Gabrielle suddenly notices something in the window. A 9-year-old moon-faced girl standing in the side yard watching them. Startled, Gabrielle screams.
Who's that?
I don't know. Hey, you!
The moon-faced girl runs away. Gabrielle crosses to the window, deeply concerned, and we fade out. End of Act 1. Act 2. Fade in. Interior Susan's house. Continuous. Lynette and Susan climb out of the car and cross to the trunk.
So Mike didn't say anything?
No, but God, you should have seen the look on his face.
I'm sure it's not that bad. I mean, he's coming to the party, right?
Yeah, I left 3 messages on his machine. No, he's not going to come. Big surprise. I did everything but foam at the mouth.
Lynette opens the trunk and pulls out bags of groceries, including a photo packet.
God, I hate it when I get that way. It's like every time I'm within 10 feet of Carl, I just become this monster.
You know what? It's not going to change until you resolve your issues with that man.
What, you mean forgive him? No. You know, I've lived with this bitterness for so long. I think I'd be lonely without it.
Honey, get a pet. See ya.
Susan takes her bags and leaves. Lynette opens up the photo packet and begins flipping through the pictures. She freezes on a snapshot.
Son of a...
Close on the photo, it is clearly inebriated Tom, arms thrown around the shoulders of a few equally pickled businessmen, lounging at a table strewn with huge margarita glasses. The photo is dropped down on a table, and we're now in Lynette's house, kitchen. Later that day, Tom takes in the photo.
It's a business meeting.
It's a frat party.
Regional manager, corporate manager, head of sales.
Margarita, cigars, sombrero.
Ugh, honey, what do you want me to do? Sit around the hotel the whole time watching cable?
No, but when I say we've been invited to a party, don't whine about your exhausting 60-hour work week. Put on your dancing shoes and take the mother of your children out for a good time.
Fine, you know what? You're right. Let's go out to the party.
Can't. I already canceled the sitter.
Tom pulls a Jell-O container from the fridge.
Okay, we'll throw the next one.
Throw a dinner party? I didn't even have time to wash my face. No, you know what? I'm gonna go to this one. You can stay home and babysit the kids.
Fine, I can handle that.
Tom is incapable of figuring out how to open this Jell-O container. I mean, Lynette watches this for a beat, then abruptly snatches it from him, effortlessly pulls the lid off, hands it back to him, and storms out.
Thank you.
Exterior Gabrielle's house, day. A car cruises into frame, Gabrielle at the wheel, intently searching for the moon-faced girl.
Gabrielle spent her morning searching for the mysterious little girl.
Gabrielle pulls into her driveway and is horrified to see Carlos talking to the girl on the porch.
Sadly for her, the mystery was solved a bit too quickly.
She gets out of the car and nervously crosses to them.
Hey, what's going on?
Have you met Ashley?
Gabrielle and Ashley stare each other down. Is there any recognition?
Found it.
Gabrielle looks over to see a woman, Mrs. Bukowski, coming toward them, carrying a large ball.
Babe, this is Sheila Bukowski, our new neighbor. They just moved into the Miller's old house. My daughter left her ball in your yard. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no problem. Nice to meet you, Ashley.
Ashley just stares at Gabriella blankly.
She's shy. She doesn't say much. Yeah, but I can see her little mind working away.
Carlos kisses Gabrielle on the cheek before heading into the house. Ashley sees this, then watches as Carlos disappears inside the house.
Nice meeting you.
Ashley turns and looks up at Gabrielle. Their eyes lock. Mrs. Bukowski returns for her daughter.
Come on, Ashley.
They exit. Off Gabrielle, worried. Interior young house, garage day. Zach enters carrying some rags. He crosses to a cabinet of car cleaning supplies, sets the rags down, and pulls a box off the shelf. Zach notices a smaller, odd-looking box behind it. He opens the box and discovers a revolver. He stares at it for a beat. Interior Dr. Goldfine's office day. Bree, Rex, and Dr. Goldfine are there. A tape recorder records their session.
Private sessions? I don't understand. Why do we need private sessions?
Private sessions allow us to work on the personal issues of both partners.
Oh, well, I don't have any personal issues. My only personal issue is that my husband wants to leave me. And how can I work on that if he's not in the room?
There are things I need to discuss with Dr. Goldfine, and I can't have you there.
Why? I'm your wife. You can say anything in front of me. All we need is a few more sessions, and I'm sure we can...
Damn it, Bree. A few more sessions isn't going to fix us. This is bigger than that.
Rex and Bree stare at each other for a beat. Then,
Why don't we do it this way? Rex, you can take the first half hour. Bree, you can take the second.
Fine. Oh, and doctor, if what he's about to discuss has anything to do with adultery, prostitution, or internet pornography, I really would appreciate you taking a moral hard line.
Bree leans over, picks up a tennis racket, and crosses out. Exterior Wisteria Lane driveway day. Close on an odd-colored chalk drawing. This is Ashley's handiwork, and she's on her knees embellishing the details. Gabrielle walking up the sidewalk holding something behind her back. She approaches Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. Remember me? We met earlier.
Ashley looks up at her blankly, then goes back to her artwork.
Wow, aren't you the little artist? What are those? Flamingos?
No.
Ashley goes back to her drawing. Gabrielle forges on.
Well, they're very pretty. Looks like they're kissing. Funny thing about kissing, it's not just for husbands and wives. Sometimes we kiss our mom or our grandma. Sometimes we even kiss our dog. Sometimes we even kiss people who are just our friends. Kind of like a high five on the lips, right?
No response. Still feeling extremely vulnerable, Gabrielle reveals she's been carrying an expensive doll.
Hey, Ash. I was at the mall and I saw this. I thought you might like it. She's Hawaiian. Her name is Princess Ka'alua. I think it means little waterfall or big pond or something.
Gabrielle hands the doll to Ashley, who takes it and puts it in her lap without a second glance.
Okay, so we're good, right? Okay, well, enjoy your new little friend, and if there's anything else you need, you just let me know.
Gabrielle starts to cross away.
What I'd really like is a bike.
Gabrielle stops dead in her tracks. Interior young house, living room, night. Night 2. Paul enters the darkened room and crosses to the fridge. He hears a strange metallic spinning sound. He flips on a light, revealing Zach, seated on the floor holding a handgun, spinning the cylinder. A box of ammunition lies next to him. Paul takes this in for a beat.
Where did you find that?
She used this to kill herself. Why would you keep it?
Paul is silent.
Why?
Because I thought we might need it someday.
For what?
Protection.
I want to talk about Mom.
You need to take your medication.
We are going to talk about Mom.
There's a knock on the side door. Zach and Paul exchange looks. Zach puts his finger up to his mouth to indicate, "Be quiet, Paul." Zach opens the side door a crack, careful to keep the gun out of view. It's Bree with a gracious smile on her face.
Hello, Zach. I hope this isn't a bad time.
As Zach and his father exchange looks, we fade out. End of Act 2. Act 3, fade in, interior young house, continuous. Bree stands just outside the side door. Zach stands inside. He holds his gun behind the door where Bree can't see it. Paul stands a few feet away, unseen by Bree.
What can I do for you, Miss Vandekamp?
Well, I just wanted to invite you and your father to a dinner party tomorrow night.
I'm not sure where he is right now.
Oh, well, I'm sorry it's such late notice, but, well, we weren't sure you and your father were ready for any kind of social engagement yet, but, well, we're sort of throwing it in your mother's honor.
Really?
Yes, it's just going to be a casual night with the gang. We're going to eat and tell fun stories about your mom.
This touches Zach deeply. Zach's eyes begin to well up with tears. Paul sees this.
Zach, are you okay?
Paul quickly walks over and puts his arm around Zach.
Hello, Bree.
While Bree and Paul talk, Paul surreptitiously takes the gun and out of Zach's hands. Zach doesn't fight him.
Oh, hi, Paul.
I heard. Thank you, but we already have plans for tomorrow.
Bree's eyes dart back and forth between father and son. She now realizes she's interrupted something odd between them.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, I should go.
Thank you, Mrs. Vandekamp.
For what, Zach?
Remembering my mom.
Bree's a bit surprised by the statement. She looks to Paul, whose cold stare propels her away. After she's taken a few steps away, Paul closes the door.
That night, Paul gave his son something to calm his nerves.
Exterior Gabrielle's house, sidewalk day. Day 3. On Gabrielle in a short skirt and a stiletto heels, struggling to pull a child's bicycle from her trunk.
And the next day, Gabrielle calmed her own nerves by giving something to her new best friend.
Once she gets it out, she wheels it over to Ashley, who's standing on the curb.
Here you go. Top of the line. 3-speed aluminum frame, handlebar ribbons, and a bell. And you'll notice it's royal blue to match your pretty little eyes.
My eyes are green.
Yeah, well, you'll be cruising so fast on this, no one will even notice. It's all yours, hon. Have fun.
Gabrielle starts to get back in her car, stops when she notices Ashley isn't getting on the bike.
What? What's wrong?
I don't know how to ride a bike.
What? Well, then why did you ask me for one?
Ashley shrugs. Then?
Why can't you show me?
Sure. One of these days.
Gabrielle starts to walk back to her car.
What's wrong with now?
Gabrielle stops dead in her tracks. Interior Susan's house day. Susan is looking through her family photo album.
After her talk with Lynette, Susan decided to take a look at her old photo album.
Close-on photo after photo of Carl, Susan, and Julie in happier times. Carl's head has been cut out of each picture.
And she began to see herself in a whole new light, and the picture wasn't flattering.
Susan winces at what she's done to the photos. After a beat, she picks up the phone and dials.
Yeah, you got Carl. Leave a message.
Beep.
Hey, Carl, it's me. I was hoping you'd be there. Listen, we need to talk. So maybe when you drop Julie off tomorrow, we can have a moment. It's important. Give my best to Brandy. Call me.
Susan sits back down at the table as she continues flipping through the photo album.
Susan was proud of herself. She was finally ready to let go of her anger.
Something catches Susan's eye. Close on another photo of Susan and a headless Carl. Underneath the photo is a strange circular piece of paper. Susan pulls it out to reveal it's the head of Carl that she cut out from the photo.
Well, almost.
Susan crushes the head between her thumb and forefinger. Interior Lynette's house, kitchen day. Lynette, in a mud mask, is at the refrigerator giving Tom directions for the evening. The boys are screaming for their mommy in the background.
The boys will be hungry at around 5:30, so put the fish sticks in the toaster at around 5 o'clock.
For half an hour. I know, it's the third time you've told me.
Well, if the food's late, God help you.
Beautiful, I don't need a pamphlet. It's not brain surgery. They're just kids, for God's sake.
Tom crosses out. Lynette looks after him, dismissed. After a beat.
Preston, would you come here?
Preston crosses in.
Yeah?
Sweetie, you know our rule about eating cookies, right?
Yeah, we can't have them after 5 because sugar makes us hyper.
Yeah, but tonight, anything goes.
She hands Preston a box of cookies.
Make sure you share with your brothers.
Thanks, Mom!
Preston runs out as Lynette smiles a contented smile. We exterior Wisteria Lane day. Gabrielle in her heels trots alongside the wobbly Ashley, who squints under her helmet.
Don't look at Don't look at your feet. Don't look at your feet.
Nervous, Ashley looks up at the sky.
Look at the road. Look at the road. Good. Ow. Okay. Find your balance. Find your balance. Hey, it's all you. It's all you. You're doing great.
Gabrielle watches as Ashley rides on her own for a beat until she hits a bump in the road and heads straight for a parked car.
Okay, steer to the right. Watch the car. Watch the car. Watch the car.
Ashley turns sharply away from the car and falls onto the grass. Gabrielle runs to her.
Oh, God. You okay?
Gabrielle helps her up.
Yeah, let's go again.
Oh, honey, these heels don't have another block in them.
What about tomorrow?
Well, you won't be around tomorrow because you have school.
I'm homeschooled. I'm always around.
It was at that moment that Gabrielle realized this ride was far from over.
Gabrielle sighs. Interior Susan's house living room day. The doorbell rings over and over as Susan, half wet and wearing only a towel, runs down the steps to answer.
I'm coming.
Susan peers through the side window, opens the door to reveal Carl.
Carl, what are you doing here? I asked you to come tomorrow.
You said you wanted to talk. It sounded important.
Tomorrow. I'm in a towel.
We were married 14 years. I know what's under there.
Carl laughs and shoves past Susan. Interior Susan's house kitchen day. They cross the kitchen table and sit.
I'm not really ready for this. I was going to have a whole speech prepared.
Brandy and I have plans tomorrow. I suggest you wing it.
Oh, okay. Here's the thing, Carl. I was thinking about what happened in the driveway yesterday, and I just don't want to, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be that kind of person. And I just thought that if the two of us, if we had a nice home, I need an apology, Carl.
A what?
An apology for the way you ended a marriage. You never took any responsibility for your behavior.
I don't know what to say, Susan. The heart wants what it wants.
What does that mean?
I fell in love.
While you were married to someone else.
The heart wants what it wants.
Yeah, well, my heart wants to hurt you, but I can control myself.
I don't want to go back to that ugly place. Really. And if you do, I suggest you get some help.
Carl walks out on her. Again. Exterior Susan's house day. Susan stays on Carl's heels, following him to the car.
You know what? I don't need an apology. I don't need anything from you.
You're humiliating yourself.
Carl climbs into his car. Susan runs to the passenger side and flings open the door.
No, you're the one who's been humiliated, Carl. Why don't you see that? You walked out on your family. People think you're scum, not me. So worry about yourself. I'm okay with me. I can walk down the street and hold my head high.
Susan slams the door, unaware it's caught the edge of her towel. Carl pulls away, ripping Susan's towel off her body. Susan stands frozen, butt naked on Wisteria Lane, watching her flapping towel being dragged off by Carl's car. He's not turning around. Susan snaps out of her shock and streaks back up to her front porch to find the doors locked. Susan cowers behind a porch pillar. She looks around to find some sort of cover and spies a pot of geraniums. Flowers? She grabs the plant. Off Susan's naked panic. Fade out. End of Act 3. Act 4. Fade in. Exterior Wisteria Lane day. The street is quiet.
As the sun slowly settled on Wisteria Lane,
Exterior Susan's house continues. Susan remains frozen, stark naked, hiding behind a post on her porch.
An unsettled Susan racked her brain to find a way into her own house.
Susan picks up the pot of geraniums, covering her privates, and Crab walks over to Interior Susan's house, side yard day. Susan rushes up to the steps of the side door, tries the doorknob, but it's locked too. There's a window next to the side porch. She sets the pot down and leans over precariously to try and force the window open. Her hands slip and she falls. Landing hard in the bushes under the window, she lies there prone, stunned, and humiliated.
Lying naked in her shrubs, it occurred to Susan this could very well be the most humiliating moment of her life. Susan? She was wrong.
Susan looks up to see Mike Delfino standing in her yard. He's averting his eyes, trying to hide his amusement.
What you doing?
Locked myself out, naked,
Oh,
and then I fell. So how are you?
good. I just got back. I've been gone all day and I just got your message about dinner and, I would love to come if the invite still stands.
It's a date.
Oh, B. Mike can't suppress a grin.
All right, I assume the dress is casual.
Yeah, it's casual.
Off Susan, dying inside. Exterior Bree's house, front door. Minutes later, Mike and Susan, now dressed but still naked in many ways, walk up to the porch.
Thanks for helping me break in. Do you think it'll be hard to replace that screen?
Well, it depends. Nail it in yourself. You might want to wear gloves. Or pants. Pants wouldn't hurt.
Susan stops in her tracks with a nervous smile.
Okay, I know what just happened is funny, in theory, but I'm nowhere near ready to laugh about it. So please, no jokes.
Before Mike can respond, Bree opens the door.
Hey, where have you two been?
Susan had a problem finding something to wear. Oh, is that the kind of thing you meant?
Pretty much.
Mike gives a knowing smile to Susan. Interior Bree's house, continuous. They should be together. Bree escorts them into the party past Lynette, who's on a cell phone.
The kids are bouncing off the walls? Huh. Well, I'm sure you can figure out the way to put them to bed, Tom. I mean, for God's sake, Tom. They're just kids.
Angle on Mike and Susan crossing them in the living room. While Mike heads for the bar, Gabrielle crosses over with some difficulty to a chair. Susan notices.
Hey, are you okay?
Yes, I went jogging today, and I think I pushed myself too hard.
Well, you're probably not wearing the right shoes.
Yeah, that thought did cross my mind.
Angle on Carlos and Rex. They're off to the side. Both have wine glasses in their hands.
So Gabrielle says you and Bree are taking lessons 3 times a week. Mm-hmm. I'm actually thinking about playing again. I mean, it's such great exercise. That it is. And my drop shot could use a serious tune-up. Think you could give me the number of your pro? Yeah, I'll give it to you later. Well, what club does he work out of?
Carlos waits expectantly for a beat. Rex makes a decision.
We're not really taking tennis lessons, Carlos. You're not? That's a story Bree concocted to cover the fact that we're seeing a marriage counselor.
Crash! Rex spins around and sees Bree, who has just dropped a tray of appetizers. Standing behind him, she stares at him, shock and betrayal written on her face.
Bree, he wouldn't stop asking about the tennis pro.
Bree grabs the wine glass out of Rex's hand. All the guests turn to find Bree trembling with rage.
Bree and I are in marriage counseling. Everyone knows our secret now. Did the sky fall? Has your life come crashing down?
If everybody would take your seats, dinner is served.
Bree crosses into the kitchen. Interior young house living room night. Night 3. The TV is playing the evening news. A bottle of pills sits on the coffee table. Zach is asleep on the couch. Paul watches his son from the doorway. He moves to the couch and adjusts the blanket up to Zach's shoulders. His attention is pulled by insert newscaster on TV standing by the edge of a lake.
A grisly discovery was made today in Westbrook when a chest was found in Rockwater Lake, discovered by a local area businessman and his grandson while they were fishing.
On the TV, the toy chest sits on the ground near the lake. Cordoned off with the tape. Several officers and a police photograph survey the scene.
Investigators recovered a wooden chest containing what appears to be human remains. Now, a police spokesman says the body was...
Click! Paul turns the TV off with the remote. He walks out of the room. We stay on Zach quietly sleeping, or so it seems. Zach's eyes blink open. Interior Bree's house, dining room. A short time later, everyone is seated. Having just been served their starters, the mood is tense, formal. No conversation to be had. Bree and Rex icily squared off at opposite ends of the table.
Okay, I gotta break the ice here. So you're in counseling, big deal. You want humiliation? I'll give you humiliation. I locked myself out of my house stark naked and got caught by Mike.
Oh my God, when did this happen?
Today, right before the party.
A beat. All heads turn to Mike.
What can I say? Right place, right time.
He gives Susan a warm look. Beat.
I think I can top that. Try getting thrown out of Disneyland for lewd behavior.
What? When was this?
When Tom and I were first married, things got a little out of hand on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride.
You're kidding.
No, we got prep walked down Main Street, USA.
Well, since we're doing true confessions, Carlos and I once broke a waterbed in Cancun.
How do you manage that?
Oh, he used to have a thing for spiked heels.
I'd just like to make it clear she was wearing them.
Everyone laughs. There's a slight lull. Then
Rex cries after he ejaculates.
Bree stares at Rex coldly, then silence. Rex folds his napkin and rises and then exits. Interior Bree's house, foyer continuous. Follow Rex as he grabs his keys off the table. Interior Bree's house, dining room, continuous. Back on the stunned group, reacting to a door slamming. The guests sit in an awkward silence. Fade out. End of Act 4. Act 5. Fade in. Exterior Wisteria Lane night. Susan and Mike walk home from the party.
You think we left too early?
I was thinking we left too late.
So is Rex gone for good?
I don't know. God, I hope not. I mean, they've always been wound a little tight, but I've never seen them like that. Then again, who am I to judge?
You mean people in glass houses shouldn't throw soda cans?
Okay, you have got to know that I only get that angry around Carl. He just treated me so badly at the end. I haven't been able to get past it.
Well, maybe he did you a big favor.
What do you mean?
Just look at Carl as a starter marriage. You know, boot camp. Preparing you for something better next time.
Susan looks at Mike. This seems to land as they arrive at Susan's front porch.
Listen, Mike, about the whole seeing me naked thing, I just want to thank you for being such a perfect gentleman.
Oh, I wasn't a perfect gentleman. I might have snuck a peek.
Oh? Good night.
And, for what it's worth, wow.
Wow, Susan smiles sweetly, flattered. Interior Lynette's house, living room night. Tom dozes on the sofa, the TV droning an infomercial. Papers rest on his chest. Lynette enters, looks around the room, which is knee deep in kid clutter and half-eaten snacks. A sweater drops into frame and tickles Tom's face. He stirs open his face and sees Lynette.
Hi.
How was your night?
We are raising little terrorists. You know that, don't you?
Oh, you didn't have a good time?
You know, drop the act. I know you gave them cookies.
No, who cracked anyway?
Porter.
They share a smile.
Yeah, so how was your dinner party?
Well, there was dinner, but it wasn't much of a party.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. Rex announced that he and Bree are in counseling. She retaliated with this whole revelation, which I won't even go into. And the bottom line is he stormed out. Clearly, there's trouble in paradise.
Honestly, I'm not that surprised.
Why not?
I don't know. I just never got the idea that they were really happy.
Lynette pauses to absorb this. Then after a beat, she crosses into the kitchen to survey the damage of the room. A beat, she turns to Tom.
Are we happy?
Tom looks at her, doesn't answer right away. He's more intent on gouging at where Lynette's going with this. Gauging. That's me. Interior Gabrielle's house, master bathroom, night. Carlos picks up a nose hair trimmer and starts trimming. Gabrielle is putting moisturizer on her legs.
Man, oh man, I keep seeing that look on Rex's face. And then him taking off like that some night. Then again, I probably would cry too if I had sex with that woman.
Carlos picks up a comb and starts grooming his goatee.
I mean, you watch a man get torn down like that, makes you wonder why he let her get away with it. Believe me, if a woman ever humiliated me like that in public, it would only happen once.
Carlos lumbers out, off Gabrielle, frozen in fear. Carlos had a goatee this whole time? What? Interior, Bree's house, bedroom, day. Rex is sitting on the bed, seething. Bree is packing his suitcase.
So, where are you going?
I'll be staying at the motor lodge.
Bree goes to the drawer.
The hotel by the interstate has better rates, and it's closer to your work.
Fine.
I'm packing your swimsuit. There's a pool there, and I know swimming relaxes you.
When our kids ask where I am, what are you going to say?
I could tell them you went to tennis camp.
Rex glares at her.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I got it.
Bree closes the suitcase.
Ah, there. Obviously, if you've forgotten anything, you can come right back and get it.
Well, I'll call you.
Rex heads for the door.
Rex?
He stops.
In college, when we first started dating, people were so jealous of us. We were the golden couple. Everybody knew we were going to have this wonderful life. Why is this happening?
Rex searches for a beat. Then?
Because you can't even let me pack my own suitcase.
Rex takes the suitcase and exits. Bree looks around the empty room. At the bed they shared for 18 years, she notices something. She reaches and straightens the bedspread where the suitcase moosed it. It was. Exterior, Susan's house. Day 4. Julie, clutching her duffel bag, closes the door of Carl's car. Carl kisses her goodbye.
All right. See ya. Have fun.
Susan heads down the driveway, passing Julie.
Hey, where are you going?
Just be a sec.
Mom?
Don't worry, I'm not packing heat.
Susan approaches Brandy's side of the car and opens the door.
Hey, Brandy. Could you scoot a little?
Brandy obeys before Carl can object. As Susan squeezes into the front seat, interior Carl's car continues. Brandy is now sandwiched between Carl and Susan.
Just scoot. Thank you. Hi.
What are you doing?
I'll be quick. Brandy, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. It was uncalled for and childish, and it won't happen again. I've built up a lot of anger towards you, both of you, and I realize now that I just can't carry that around anymore. So, apology or no apology, I'm moving on.
Susan gets out of the car and heads back to the house. Behind Susan, the passenger door opens and Brandy gets out.
Mrs. Meyer?
Mrs. Meyer? Brandy, get in the car.
Brandy ignores him and approaches Susan.
Mrs. Meyer?
Please, call me Susan.
I wanted you to know what happened between me and Carl. Things got out of hand because I thought your marriage was over. Anyway, I just wanted you to know I'm sorry, I really am.
Susan stares at her for a long beat. Then,
Thank you.
as Brandy crosses back to the car, Susan stands perfectly still, moved.
And though it came from an unexpected source, Susan finally got the apology she always wanted.
Interior Lynette's house living room night. Night 4. Lynette enters, both arms full of groceries. Tom rushes down the stairs, wearing a sombrero and a goofy smile.
Hey, let me take those.
He takes the groceries from her and crosses to the kitchen, off Lynette's surprise.
You're wearing a really big hat.
Yes, I am.
Tom rushes over to the stereo and tunes in some slow Mexican ballad.
Listen, the kids are watching a video, which means we've got about 45 minutes before they actually find Nemo. So I suggest that we...
Tom crosses to a table set with a picnic of takeout Mexican food, complete with margaritas. He picks up 2 drinks.
make the most of it.
By reliving your night out with the guys?
Lynette, I'm trying.
Lynette hears him, takes a beat. He offers her a margarita.
You look ridiculous in that thing.
Sexy ridiculous?
Maybe.
He sets down their drinks.
I can live with maybe.
He pulls her in and they begin to dance, slowly, lovingly.
Oh, you know, it's going to take more than just this one night.
I know.
They kiss. Lynette begins to give herself over to the moment. Then,
Sorry.
Looks like we've got an audience.
reveal an unusually quiet Porter, Preston, and Parker raptly observing their parents from the staircase.
Let them look, as long as they don't try to cut in.
Tom smiles and pulls her tighter. Interior Dr. Goldfine's office. Night. Dr. Goldfine is at his filing cabinet. We see rows of audio tapes, alphabetically filed. A beat. There's a knock at the door. Before he can answer, Bree barges in.
Dr. Goldfine.
Oh, that's me. Sorry. Bree, we're not scheduled now, are we?
I didn't have time to make an appointment. Rex moved out today.
I'm very sorry to hear that, but unfortunately, I'm completely booked right now.
I don't need much time. It just seems that you have more insight into my situation than I do. And I just think that
Bree, we can't talk now.
if you could just tell me what he told you, then I could fix the problem.
I can't do that. It's completely unethical.
A button lights up near his desk.
Well, why can't you?
That's my next appointment. You really need to go.
Dr. Goldfine, please.
She has yet to reveal this much of herself to Goldfine.
Hold on. I'll go and talk to my client.
Dr. Goldfine crosses out. A beat. Bree looks down and sees the open cabinet with the audio tape. She quickly moves to it and begins searching.
Bree searched for Rex's audio tape, hoping to find answers. She found answers, all right, but to entirely different questions.
She finds it. Just before she pulls the tape out, her eye catches another tape marked Young, Mary Alice. Stunned, she pulls it out. Just then, she hears Dr. Goldfine's voice.
Okay, I'll be out in just a minute.
He's coming back. Moving fast to grab Rex's tape, she fumbles it with Mary Alice's tape and drops it. Quickly, she scrambles to pick it up, then spins around just as Dr. Goldfine enters, palming the Mary Alice tape, surreptitiously at her side.
Bree, I'm sorry. He can't wait, but I can see you first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. Sorry to interrupt. Bye.
Tape in hand, Bree shuffles out, leaving an incredulous Dr. Goldfine. Exterior Wisteria Lane night, the camera floats down the empty street.
Yes, I remember the world. Every detail.
Interior Bree's house, bedroom night. Bree holds Mary Alice's tape. She stares at it intensely.
And what I remember most is how afraid I was.
Bree is startled by a pounding sound.
What a waste. You see, to live in fear is to not live at all.
The pounding continues as Bree looks out the window. Interior Gabrielle's house, bedroom night. Gabrielle lying in bed next to John, post-coital. She's looking away from him, lost in thought.
I wish I could tell this to those I left behind. But would it do any good? Probably not.
The pounding grows louder, sounding more like hammering. It draws Gabrielle to the window. Interior Susan's house living room night. Susan studies a photo of her, Julie, and Carl. More acceptance than anger as she sets it down into the photo album.
I understand now there will always be those who face their fears. And there will always be those.
She too hears the pounding and crosses to the window. Exterior Wisteria Lane night. Paul pounds a "For Sale by Owner" sign onto his front lawn.
Who ran away.
Fade out the end.
All right, thank you for watching our Desperate Housewives reading. Good night.